Chapter 79. You are. Jiang Yaru stared blankly at the group of people walking over. She didn't know these people and had never seen them before. She didn't know why they were looking for her. I'm Han Shan from Zhengde High School. The young man in white introduced himself. He was elegant, but his face showed a trace of arrogance, as if he was born this way. Suddenly, the surrounding students were shocked. Zhengde High School? Is it that famous private school in Tianshui City? It's this school. It's said that the students who can go to this school are either rich or noble. Every semester costs 30 to 40,000 federal dollars. Poor people can't afford it, and the students in this school are all very strong. Our public schools can't compare to them at all. How can we compare? They're all rich people. They have monster to eat every meal, and they have all kinds of training facilities. They have a great innate advantage. This Han Shan seems to be very famous in Zhengde High School. He's the #1 expert in this school, an expert at the 8th layer of martial disciple. No way. Isn't that even stronger than Jiang Yaru and Chu Rong? He's not only strong, but also has a lot of background. His family runs a food processing factory, specializing in processing monster meat and other foods. There are tens of thousands of workers and a market value of 1 billion. It's said that the Han family is very influential in Tianshui City. Many students were shocked. They looked at this group of students from Zhengde High School with a look of envy. The people from Zhengde High School puffed out their chests even higher, as if they weren't on the same level as the others. Han Shan's face was expressionless, as if this was all natural. So you're a student from Zhengde High School. Jiang Yaru didn't comment on the other party's identity. She asked indifferently, then why are you looking for me? The reason I'm looking for you is very simple. It's to join forces. Han Shan smiled slightly. I've heard of Miss Zhang's reputation. You're the #1 expert in Tianshui City's 95th High School, an expert at the 7th layer of martial disciple. Even in Zhengde High School, you're one of the best. So, I hope you can join my team and participate in the training on Beast Island. I believe you also know that in a wild jungle like the Beast Island, a single person's strength is very weak. However, it's different with a small team. The chances of survival are greatly increased. If Miss Jiang can join forces with us and obtain first place in this trial, it will be as easy as pie. He looked at Jiang Yaru with a passionate gaze. To be honest, this was the first time he had seen such a beauty. He had fallen for her at first glance. Even in righteous middle school, there wasn't a beauty like her. If he could take advantage of this opportunity to get along well with her and deliberately create a few opportunities to be a hero, saving the beauty, then he might be able to get his hands on this beauty and win her heart. In fact, Han Shan wasn't interested in a reward like the body-quenching pellet. He was rich and could easily buy a few of them. However, it was different for a beautiful woman. It wasn't that easy to get his hands on one. No need. Without even thinking about it, Jiang Yaru flatly refused. For this trial, I've already formed a team with my classmates. I'm afraid I won't be able to join your team. Hearing this, Han Shan's expression was very gloomy. He didn't expect that his personal invitation would be rejected. Forgive me for being blunt, but I'm afraid your Tianshui City's 95th middle school doesn't have many strong people. If you form a team with them, I'm afraid they'll drag you down. It's better for you to think twice. I, Han Shan, personally came to invite you. This is rare. I hope you cherish it. Hearing this, the students of Tianshui City's 95th middle school were all half dead with anger. They were actually looked down on like this and treated as trash. They all felt very annoyed in their hearts. Jiang Yaru frowned. She didn't expect this guy to be so difficult to deal with. Even at this time, he still wanted to pester her. She suddenly saw Xia Ping sitting next to her. He was happily drinking his drink with a very leisurely look. Suddenly, she was furious. She was clearly in such a difficult situation, yet he was still here drinking his drink as if nothing had happened. This was really too much. She rolled her eyes and came up with a plan. She said loudly, "If you want to form a team with me, that's not a problem. But my boyfriend probably won't agree to this." Jiang Yaru was very proud of herself. Who told you to deliberately spread rumors? This time, I'll let you taste the bitter fruit. Boyfriend. Hearing this, Han Shan's expression was extremely ugly. It was rare for him to take a fancy to a woman, and now she was already taken. How could this be? His eyes were filled with anger as he stared at Xia Ping, sitting next to him. Brat. Han Shan stepped forward, his body surging with a violent aura, ruthlessly oppressing, trying to suppress Xia Ping. Miss Jiang should have no objections to forming a team with us to participate in the training, right? People like you from Tianshui City's 95th Middle School will probably drag Miss Jiang down. Don't overestimate yourself. You should know how to appreciate favors, understand? His words contain a hint of threat, as if hinting that if anyone dared to have any objections, he would have a problem with Xia Ping. The surrounding students all looked at Xia Ping with schadenfreude, especially the students from Righteous Middle School. They all knew that Han Shan was a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance, and his methods were ruthless. Anyone who offended him would not have a good ending. In the past, there were a few students from Righteous Middle School who refused to give Han Shan face. As a result, they were ambushed by him in an alley. All the bones in their bodies were broken, and even now, no evidence could be found. The police were also helpless. In the end, those students were traumatized and directly transferred schools, no longer daring to stay in Righteous Middle School. Scram. Hearing this, Xia Ping lazily raised his head and said this word to Han Shan. What? Han Shan's face turned green. He was the king of Righteous Middle School, and all the passing students had to bow their heads and greet him. When had anyone ever said this word to his face? Someone actually told him, Han Shan, to scram? The other students were also stunned. Although they had long known that Xia Ping was not someone to be trifled with, they did not expect him to be so arrogant. He did not intend to give Han Shan face at all. The people from Righteous Middle School were also a little stunned. They did not expect that someone would dare to speak to Han Shan like this. Immediately, someone gloated and said, Han Shan, it seems that your name is useful in Righteous Middle School. No one will care about you when you go out. Shut up. Han Shan roared at the man, and the man immediately shut up and did not dare to speak again. Obviously, he could see that Han Shan was really angry. Chapter 80. You very good. Han Shan's face was gloomy to the extreme, staring at Xia Ping. You are the first person who dares to talk to me like this. This trial will take a long time. Let the two of us have some fun. I hope you don't have any accidents on Beast Island. After saying this, he turned and left. The students of Zhengde Middle School looked at Xia Ping with pity. This kid was simply reckless. He dared to offend Han Shan like this. Wasn't he looking for death? They had seen how miserable the people who offended Han Shan last time were. But what did this have to do with them? He was just a civilian. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A group of students of Zhengde Middle School turned and left, quickly leaving the area of Tianshui City in 95th Middle School. Xia Ping, you're in a bit of trouble. Han Yu next to him said with a very serious face. I have heard of this Han Shan's reputation. He doesn't seem to be a good person. He is vengeful and ruthless. Now you have offended him. When you go to Beast Island, maybe he will target you. The other students also had a gloating look. This kid didn't know who he could offend and who he couldn't offend. If he offended the people of Zhengde Middle School, there would be no good end. The other party, Han Shan, was a strong martial artist at the 8th heavenly layer. He could be called the #1 master. In addition, the other students of Zhengde Middle School were also extremely powerful. They were either at the 6th or 7th heavenly layer, and their strength was stronger than the students of other middle schools. Just Han Shan alone was already very difficult to deal with. If the other students joined in, Xia Ping would definitely die. Xia Ping reckoned that he would be plagued with misfortunes during the Beast Island trials. He might even be killed, but this was what he deserved. Who let this guy be so annoying? Target me? Let him come, Xia Ping said lightly. Even Chun Dong and Zhou Ding, who were strong martial artists at the 9th heavenly layer, he could sneak attack and kill them. What was a mere martial artist at the 8th heavenly layer? If you want to target me on Beast Island, you don't look at your own weight and weigh your own strength. When he dares to provoke me, I will show him some color and let him know who is courting death. Everyone was speechless. They already knew that this bastard was arrogant, but they didn't expect him to be so arrogant that he didn't even put Han Shan in his eyes. However, some people thought that Xiaoping was just being stubborn. Once they reached the Beast Island, this kid would know how powerful he was. But there's more than one of them. If they all attack at once, no matter how powerful they are, they will still be out of luck. I think you might need to be vigilant. Hong Yu suggested with good intentions. Xiaoping waved his hand. They're just a bunch of shrimp soldiers and crab generals. I can easily deal with them. Even if I'm no match for them, isn't my wife still here? Let her make a move and quickly deal with this group of trash. He revealed his plan, showing that he had a well-thought-out plan and that everything was under control. Hong Yu was speechless and didn't know what to say. Holy sh*t, this guy was too shameless. His skin was so thick. The mouths of the group twitched. They had all underestimated this bastard's shamelessness. He couldn't beat them, yet he still wanted to let a woman go up. He was living off a woman to a certain extent. But this was what a gigolo was. This bastard Xiaoping was exuding the aura of a gigolo from head to toe. It was despicable. But why did women just like gigolos? And they, the real men, were being looked down upon. The heavens were really too unfair. The group of students was filled with grief and indignation. Xiaoping, Jian Yaru was so angry that her face turned red. She was more or less regretful that things had developed to this extent. But she never thought that this man would have such thoughts. He couldn't beat them, yet he still wanted her to go up and be the scapegoat. Why wasn't this kind of shameless man struck to death by the heavens? At this time, the people from Righteous High School had also returned to their seats. However, many of them were still brooding over what had just happened, feeling that they had lost face. Han Shan, that kid was too arrogant just now, a flat-haired student said unhappily. He actually dared to say such words to our Righteous High School. Why didn't you teach him a lesson on the spot and let him know what's good for him? That's right. I've never seen such an arrogant person. We invited these low-level school students. That's giving them face, yet they actually dared to refuse. They really don't know how to appreciate favors. Lowly commoners will always be lowly commoners. As expected, they don't understand any etiquette. That bastard even came from a primitive society. He's a caveman. A group of Righteous High School students said angrily, gnashing their teeth. They were all very angry at Xiaoping's attitude just now. Although Xiaoping was targeting Han Shan was still a member of their Righteous High School. He was their representative. Humiliating Han Shan was the same as humiliating Righteous High School. Humiliating them. Don't worry. Han Shan clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. We're on a spaceship. With so many teachers watching, it's not suitable to make a move. We'll let that bastard be arrogant for now. When we get off the spaceship and enter Beast Island, we'll teach that kid a lesson. How could he possibly endure this? In his 18 years of life, it had always been him telling others to scram. Well, had he ever been told to scram? This was the first time. He couldn't restrain his anger. If he didn't take care of Xiaoping, how could he, Han Shan, survive in Righteous High School? Indeed, there are teachers watching here. It's not suitable to make a move. I think that guy is probably doing it on purpose. He's trying to goad Han Shan into making a move. Once Han Shan makes a move, I'm afraid he'll be targeted by the teachers. Maybe he'll even be kicked off the spaceship. That kid's intentions are very sinister, despicable and shameless. I didn't expect that kid to have such crafty plots. These lowly commoners are full of evil tricks. So what if he knows some tricks? Once he's seen through, it's not even worth mentioning. When we enter Beast Island, we'll teach him a lesson. This is a trial. Although I can't kill him, I can injure him severely and cripple him. Even if the teachers know about this, they can't do anything to us. We have 5 days. It's a long time. Many Righteous High School students said one after another. Their eyes revealed a hint of fierceness. They all planned to retaliate. No one had ever dared to provoke their Righteous High School and still come out unscathed. They also had this confidence. It was just a little martial artist at the 7th heaven. What was it? Han Shan alone was enough to clean him up. Not to mention, they still had 3 or 4 7th layer martial disciples here. No matter which one of them was weaker than the other. If they joined forces, they could beat that bastard into minced meat. After entering Beast Island, we'll play with him. Let's see what qualifications he has to be arrogant in front of us. Han Shan clenched his fists, his eyes emitting a cold light. Chapter 81. At this time, in the middle of the Beast Island, in a valley, there grew a towering tree. It was red all over, like blood, and vines wrapped around it like a dragon, looking extremely ferocious. The black soil was covered with bones, densely packed, all white bones, looking extremely horrifying, surrounded by a deathly, silent, murderous aura. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this time, dozens of strong figures, like apes, appeared one by one at the top of a hill, 2 or 3 kilometers away from the tree, looking out. Some of these people were wearing camouflage clothes, some were wearing bulletproof vests, holding laser guns in their hands, and some were holding sniper rifles with grenades hanging from their waists. Their muscles were bulging, and they were fully armed, exuding a terrifying, murderous aura. Each of them actually had the strength of the 8th or even the 9th heavenly layer, incomparably powerful. Boss, our intelligence is indeed correct. A man with a scar on his face said with surprise, "There's a scarlet blood tree in the center of the Beast Island, and it bears scarlet blood fruits. In a day or so, it will mature." Yes, this time we really arrived. That is the scarlet blood fruit. It is said that it is watered with the blood of countless beasts, accumulating for 100 years before growing. Its value is amazing. One is worth 50 million federal coins. What is money? As long as we eat such a scarlet blood fruit, it can immediately help us break through the Baihui acupoint and reach the martial artist realm. At that time, we will be able to release true Qi and 100 Steps Divine Fist. Indeed, once we reach the martial artist realm, the strength of our cheetah group will greatly increase, and we can go anywhere in the world. Maybe we can even enter Black Moon City, seize a piece of territory, and end the days of hiding everywhere. Everyone was talking about it, looking extremely excited. If there were police here, they would definitely be shocked to see these people, because these people were all criminal gangs formed by robbers, murderers, and so on. They congenially formed the Cheetah Group, committing all kinds of evil, robbing and killing countless people everywhere, becoming wanted criminals in the Federation, and their reputation spread far and wide, causing people to tremble in fear. But these criminals now appeared in this place, wanting to snatch the scarlet blood fruit. The boss of this gang was called Lin Bao, a middle-aged man with an extremely strong body, wearing a small black vest, showing steel-like muscles, on which there were more than a dozen scars, extremely fierce. "There's no hurry." Lin Bao waved his hand and calmly said, "There's still more than a day before the scarlet blood fruit ripens, so we can't pick it ahead of time. Otherwise, the medicinal effects will definitely be reduced by more than half, and that's not worth it. Also, when the scarlet blood fruit ripens, its fragrance will spread for thousands of miles. At that time, all the beasts on the island will rush over to fight for the scarlet blood fruit. I'm afraid this place will become a meat grinder battlefield. We must be fully prepared." Hearing this, the knife-scarred man said disdainfully, "They're just a bunch of beasts without intelligence. Just these bombs alone are enough to send them all to the heavens. Not a single one will be left alive." For this plan, they had prepared for a long time. They had spent a huge amount of money to purchase powerful weapons, bombs, and other things. Their goal was to obtain the scarlet blood fruit. They could not afford to lose. Since they were so well prepared, they naturally had absolute confidence. "Boss, something unexpected happened." At this moment, a bespectacled man who was as skinny as a monkey walked over with an electronic device in his hand. "Just now, I intercepted a nearby radio communication. Right now, a spaceship is rushing over. Their destination is the same as ours, the Beast Island." "What?" Everyone was shocked. Their faces darkened. If the other party was also here to fight for the scarlet blood fruit, then things would become a little troublesome. There might even be a bloody battle. "Who are they?" Lin Bao's eyes revealed a glimmer of light. The bespectacled man said in a deep voice, "They're not here to fight for the scarlet blood fruit. They're a group of students. They seem to be formed from 10 ordinary schools in Tianshui City. They sent their elites to the Beast Island to train. Of course, there are also teachers, spaceship guards, and so on accompanying them. He told them what he knew. Students? Coming to the Beast Island to train? The knife-scarred man frowned. Damn it. I didn't expect such an accident to happen. This is going to be troublesome. Not necessarily. The Beast Island is also very big. It's at least 100,000 square kilometers. Indeed, those students are here to train. They might not enter the Beast Island for a long distance. Moreover, they're just students. They can't pose any threat to us. The students are nothing to worry about. What we should be afraid of are the teachers who came with them. They're the real threat. These people are not simple. Everyone discussed spiritedly and expressed their worries. The atmosphere suddenly became heavy. What's there to be afraid of? Lin Bao sneered. We have bombs, guns, and sniper rifles. We have all kinds of weapons. Even if a martial warrior comes, we don't have to worry. As long as he dares to appear, we can blast the martial warrior's head with one shot, even if they are 2 to 3 kilometers away. It's fine if they don't come. But if they dare to come and fight with us for the Scarlet Blood Fruit, we will kill them. His body emitted a deep, murderous aura. This was definitely a bandit who had killed countless people. They were bloodthirsty and merciless. Actually, we don't have to worry too much. The bespectacled man said in a deep voice, I'm very clear about these school training. Under normal circumstances, those teachers will stay on the spaceship and won't come out easily. After all, these are students training. If the teachers follow them, it will lose the meaning of the training. If there is nothing major, they will not leave the spaceship. This is the rule. Therefore, we just have to be vigilant of those students. He said what he knew. Students? Those fledglings that have yet to grow up? Back then, I was also a student. However, I dropped out of high school because I injured a teacher and was expelled. The knife scar man laughed sinisterly. If they dare to come here, I will have to show them some love. I heard that there are also girls coming for the training this time. This is great. High school girls, I have never tasted this kind of woman before. Indeed, those girls in the past all needed money. This time, it's fine even if we don't have to spend money. Interesting. Maybe this time, there will be some other fun to play with. The group of bandits laughed sinisterly. Their eyes revealed an extremely dangerous glint. All right, stop talking nonsense. Lin Bao waved his hand. Get ready immediately. If there are any mistakes, I will peel off your skin. Yes, Captain. Many of the bandits shivered and didn't dare to speak anymore. They knew how terrifying their captain was. If they made him unhappy, he would definitely kill them on the spot. Chapter 82. A few hours later, the spaceship finally arrived at Beast Island. We've arrived at Beast Island. With a whoosh, Captain Luo Jian's figure once again appeared on the big screen. He said, in a while, bring your luggage and head down to Beast Island. You will stay here for 5 days, and our spaceship will return to this place in 5 days. When the time is up, no matter what you're doing, you must return. Boom! The spaceship slowly landed on a beach on Beast Island. With a snap, the spaceship door opened, revealing a steel staircase for the students to descend. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In a few minutes, the students from the 10 schools disembarked from the spaceship and quickly left the spaceship. The crew and teachers did not follow them. For a moment, there were 100 to 200 people standing on the beach. They were all carrying bags, suitcases, and so on. Swoosh! At this moment, the spaceship rose into the sky and quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. It left Beast Island and flew toward the nearby Entertainment Island as a temporary resting place. For the students, these 5 days were training time, but for the teachers and crew on the spaceship, it was a holiday. They would not stay in a desolate place like Beast Island. Anyway, they had nothing to do on Beast Island. They only needed to drive the spaceship back 5 days later to pick up the students back to Tianshui City. Many students looked at the spaceship leaving and felt a sense of loss. At this time, they were really the only ones left. This was because this place was basically an isolated island, far away from the continent, desolate and uninhabited. Xiaoping looked toward the inside of the island. In front of him was a dense jungle with lush plants everywhere. In the distance, there were mountains, rivers, and valleys. From time to time, the roars of beasts could be heard from the depths of the jungle. making one's heart palpitate. All the students present could feel an aura that was completely incompatible with the Steel City. This was a primordial aura. There was no sign of human habitation. Even if they shouted for help, no one would care. Let's go. The first to leave was Qianshui City's 88th High School. Chu Rong took the lead. She led her team northeast, separated from the main group, and headed toward the depths of the jungle. Because this trial was a competition, it was impossible for all the students to stay together. They had to split up. Otherwise, with so many people staying together, who would get the beasts hunted? Seeing this, the people from the other schools also split up, consciously going in different directions to avoid bumping into each other. Let's go, Zhang Yaru said to Xiaoping and the others. Xiong Batian said, forget it, I don't want to stay with this guy. He glared at Xiaoping and turned to leave, followed by Goldman Sachs, Tao Yun, Hong Yu, and other 16 or 17 people. These people seemed to have long since discussed this and decided to move together. They didn't plan to stay with Xiaoping, so the only ones left were Xiaoping, Jiang Yaru, and Zhu Erqin. Looks like we're isolated. Xiaoping lamented, this world is too dark. This must be the legendary bullying. Tire my ass. Isn't it your fault for stirring up trouble everywhere? Jiang Yaru unhappily glared at Xiaoping. And let me correct one thing. You're the one who's been isolated. Why not? Xiaoping looked at Zhu Erqin and asked, aren't you going with them? I've already formed a team with Yaru. Besides, I'm not the type of person who likes to move in groups. 2 or 3 people are just right, Zhu Erqin said calmly. She didn't seem to care about the others leaving. All right, Xiaoping shrugged. Then where should we go now? First find a place with a water source and a place to live. That's the most important thing. Zhang Yaru seemed to be completely prepared. After all, we have to stay on Beast Island for 5 days. It'll be troublesome if we don't have a base. Zhu Erqin suggested. Just now, when I was above the ship, I saw a mountain in front of us. It seems to be the source of a small stream that falls from the mountain. Maybe we can go to that mountain and use that place as our base. Their plan was very simple. They just needed to find a place to live. Then they could use that base as the center and spread out to hunt beasts in the surrounding areas. All right, I have no objections. Xiaoping nodded. Thus, the group of 3 immediately walked towards the east and entered the jungle. But not long after, Xiaoping found a group of people following behind him. Impressively, it was Righteous High School's Han Shan and the others. There were 11 or 12 of them in total. Their eyes flickered, revealing a malicious light. Xiaoping and the others immediately became vigilant, thinking that these people were going to make a move. But they discovered that these people from Righteous High School didn't seem to have any intention of attacking them. They were just following behind them. Wherever the 3 of them went, Han Shan and the others seemed to follow. They were neither too far nor too close, just hanging behind them like ghosts, haunting them. Just what are these people trying to do by following us? Zhu Erqin frowned. She felt very uncomfortable being followed like this. It was as if she had encountered a stalker. Jiang Yaru coldly snorted. Don't worry about it. As long as they cause trouble, we don't need to pay attention to them. She glared at Xiaoping with a bit of annoyance. This matter was caused by this bastard. Be careful. There's a beast coming out from the front. Xiaoping had been releasing his spiritual force to observe the surrounding jungle. In an instant, he discovered that there seemed to be some movement in the jungle in front of them. A terrifying aura spread out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, the trees shook like a gust of wind. In an instant, 4 or 5 forest wolves rushed over from the opposite side of the trees. Each one of them was incomparably strong. Their bodies were covered in muscles, and their 4 limbs were sharp claws. They scratched the ground, emitting a bloodthirsty and cruel aura. Be careful, they're forest wolves, Jiang Yaru cautiously warned. It said that they're one of the overlords of Beast Island. Their numbers are great, their speed is extremely fast, and their strength is extraordinary. With a single claw, even a rock would be torn to shreds. If their numbers were in the hundreds or thousands, even a martial practitioner would be torn to shreds by these forest wolves. However, even if it's a single forest wolf, its combat strength can't be underestimated. They don't fear death when fighting and are extremely difficult to deal with. Furthermore, they can call for friends. If we don't kill them quickly, we'll immediately be surrounded by the forest wolves. Her expression became serious. Xiaoping didn't really care. These forest wolves were indeed powerful, but they were only equivalent to a martial disciple at the 5th layer. They posed no threat to him. Just as he was about to make a move to kill these 5 forest wolves, the people from Righteous Virtue High School who had been following behind them suddenly moved. Their speed was extremely fast, and in an instant, they had rushed in front of Xiaoping and the others. In the blink of an eye, 5 people stepped forward and took out their longswords. They displayed their exquisite sword techniques. A cold light flashed past, extremely accurate and ruthless. With a poochie sound, the longswords pierced through the hearts of 5 forest wolves in an instant. With a thud, the 5 forest wolves fell to the ground without any strength to resist, losing all signs of life. What? Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin were both shocked. They didn't understand why these people from Righteous Virtue High School would do such a thing. They even helped them kill these wild beasts. Chapter 83. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Zhengde Middle School students didn't say anything. After killing the forest wolves, they quickly moved and carried them away. They didn't even look at Xiaoping's group. Their expressions were full of disdain. Just what are these guys trying to do? Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin were puzzled. However, their doubts were soon solved. As the 3 of them advanced deeper into the forest, they encountered cheetahs, tigers, and even black bears. The students of Zhengde High School personally killed all the beasts and took away all the carcasses. Not a single one was left behind. Sometimes, before Xiaoping's group even discovered the beasts in the surroundings, the Righteous High School students would take the initiative to take action. Like loyal bodyguards, they thoroughly eradicated the beasts. Soon, the sky turned dark. In the afternoon, Xiaoping's group had walked over 100 kilometers. In the end, they stopped in an open space in the forest to rest, sitting next to a large rock. Han Shan and the others sat not too far away from Xiaoping's group. They seemed to be tired and decided to set up camp in this open space. They took out kitchen utensils and even sleeping bags. And so, they began to barbecue on the spot. The ingredients were naturally the beasts they had just killed. After adding seasoning, oil, and salt, a fragrant aroma wafted over. Grumble, immediately, Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin's stomachs bulged. They hadn't eaten for an entire day. They hadn't even had water to drink, and they had walked such a long distance. It was impossible for them not to be hungry. Damn it, these guys are too despicable. Zhu Erqin clenched her teeth. She finally understood what the Righteous High School students were trying to do. They were helping them eradicate the beasts, not to protect them, but to starve them to death. Because they couldn't bring any food from the airship, the only food they could find was on the Beast Island. Naturally, the meat of the beasts was the best food. Originally, they could have hunted these beasts for dinner. But with the interference of the Righteous High School students, they hadn't found a single prey up until now. All of it had been snatched away by them. They actually played such petty tricks. Jiang Yaru was also very angry. However, she had to admit that the other party's methods were very disgusting. After all, they were still humans. They definitely needed food to maintain their daily energy. If they didn't eat, no matter how strong their martial arts cultivation was, they wouldn't be able to exert much combat power. In just one afternoon, they were so hungry that they had no energy left. If they had to wait another day, or even 2 days, they would probably have no choice but to give up on this trial and be carried back to the spaceship, becoming a laughingstock. At that time, they might really become the first people to faint from hunger in the trial. You're quite smart. Xiaoping's eyes flickered. He had to admit that the other party had hit the nail on the head. It was too difficult to find food in a desolate place like the Beast Island. The only way was to kill those ferocious beasts. But now this path was blocked. Even the wild fruits along the way had been swept clean by these people. They were extremely ruthless. If this continued, they would definitely faint from hunger and lose all their strength. At that time, they would be at the mercy of others. At this time, Zhengde Middle School's campsite. Haha, look at the eyes of those fellows. They must have fainted from hunger. A Zhengde Middle School student laughed proudly. They haven't eaten much all day, and they've traveled hundreds of kilometers. Even if a martial arts expert has a strong physique, they won't be able to withstand it. He had been observing the reactions of Xia Ping and the others. You could tell just by looking at their eyes. They can't wait to pounce on us and snatch our meat away. Can they snatch it away? If they dare to come up, we'll teach them a lesson and beat them half to death. Even if we report it to the teachers, we have a reason. I guarantee that we'll teach them a lesson. I have to say, Brother Han's plan is brilliant. They were taken care of without any effort. This is just the beginning. Let's starve them for another day, and they'll know how powerful we are. Many students discussed and looked at Xia Ping and the others mockingly. They were all very proud of themselves, treating this matter as an interesting game to play. Humph. Han Shan snorted coldly and looked at Xia Ping with disdain. This poor brat wants to fight with me? He doesn't know what's good for him. With just a little trick, he'll be on the verge of death. Just you wait. In less than 3 days, he'll definitely kneel before us and beg for mercy. When that time comes, we can ruthlessly humiliate them. This is the result of offending me, Han Shan. He clenched his fists, full of confidence. The other students couldn't help but nod. Without food to eat, even martial arts experts would be starved to death in 3 days. If they didn't beg for mercy, were they going to wait for death? Clearly, this time, Xia Ping was dead for sure. Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin also heard the laughter from Zhengde Middle School. Their faces immediately darkened. They knew that the other side was definitely laughing at them and mocking them. Damn, I don't believe that we can't hunt those beasts. Zhu Erqin clenched her teeth. While they're eating, we'll go look for prey. We'll definitely find it. Jiang Yaru shook his head. It's no use. They have the numbers. They can easily send 5 or 6 people to follow us. Some will eat, some will watch, and they'll take turns to rest. How are we supposed to fight them? It's obvious that they've hardened their hearts to mess with us. Hearing this, Zhu Erqin stared blankly. She was very unwilling. Are we going to be eaten by those bastards? Jiang Yaru also had no choice. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. There was no way to fight. Isn't it just eating? That's nothing. There's no need to hunt beasts. Xia Ping said lightly. What? Zhu Erqin and Jiang Yaru were both stunned. They didn't know what Xia Ping meant. Eat as much as you want. As soon as he finished speaking, Xia Ping took out a lot of food from his bag. There was roast lamb, beef, pork, hamburgers, pizza, ham, and even desserts. It was a dazzling lineup. Immediately, the air was filled with a rich aroma, evoking the worms in their stomachs. The corner of Jiang Yaru's mouth twitched. Where did you get all this food from? Zhu Erqin was also dumbfounded. They knew that when they disembarked from the ship, the inspection was very strict. No food could be brought out, not even water. Chapter 84. That's a secret. Xia Ping smiled faintly. Because he had used the system's aggro points to exchange for these food, the price was also very cheap. 1 aggro point was enough for 1 portion. Of course, he didn't need to explain anything about this kind of thing. Secret? Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin were both extremely curious. They couldn't understand how this guy brought the food down from the spaceship with such strict security. Xia Ping nodded. Yes, it's a secret. Of course, if you don't want to eat, I won't force you. I'll eat. Hearing this, both Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin immediately said. Their stomachs were already flat from hunger, so they didn't care how Xia Ping got the food. In short, they had to fill their stomachs first. So they immediately picked up the food and started eating. Xia Ping also grabbed a leg of lamb and bit into it. And the actions of Xia Ping and the others were immediately noticed by the people of Righteous High School. A student exclaimed, Look, that bastard took out a bunch of food from the package. Oh my God, there's lamb, beef, ham, pizza, hamburgers. Holy crap, there's even drinks. Are they here for an outing? His face turned green, revealing a look of envy, jealousy, and hatred. Impossible. Another student shouted, Didn't the captain say that no food was allowed to be brought off the spaceship? There were a few students who tried to hide it, but they were caught by the teachers on the spot and taught a lesson. Even when leaving the spaceship, there are laser scans. Any food hidden on the body can't hide. How on earth did that kid bring the food down from the spaceship? He stared dumbfoundedly at the way Xiaoping and the others ate, feeling very puzzled. Do you even need to ask? That kid went through the back door. A fat student said indignantly. Relying on his family's money and power, he got the teachers to give him special treatment and allow this guy to secretly bring food down. Someone questioned, but isn't this kid a student of 95th High School? The students in that school are all poor. How could he have money to bribe the teachers? Who knows what's going on? Maybe this guy knows the captain and has a friendship from the previous generation, so he went through the back door. Otherwise, where on earth did the food come from? The fat student shouted. Indeed, if the captain hadn't been bribed, he wouldn't have been able to do this. That captain looks like a dog. I didn't expect him to be this kind of trash. He was bribed with money. This is the reality of this world. Those without money and power are all caught and beaten to death, while those with money and power are free and unfettered, willfully breaking all kinds of social rules and getting away with it. The moral degeneration of the world is getting worse and worse. How could people be like this? You will be struck by lightning if you always use the back door. The group of students from Zhengde Middle School gnashed their teeth in anger. None of them had brought anything with them when they were chased off the spaceship. Only by hunting ferocious beasts and picking wild fruits could they have food. However, this kid had brought a bunch of food down from the spaceship. He didn't have to work so hard to enjoy all kinds of delicious food. This kind of behavior was shameless to the extreme. Moreover, they were all pampered students who did not do any chores. Normally, they did not even have the chance to enter the kitchen. One could imagine the taste of the food they barbecued. There was no way they could compare with a regular chef. In other words, it was good enough that they could eat. It was impossible for them to taste delicious. At this time, a delicious aroma drifted over from Xiaoping's side. It seemed to contain more than 10 kinds of seasonings. The aroma assailed their nostrils and stimulated their taste buds. It drove the students from Zhengde Middle School crazy. Clearly, these food were cooked by a high-class chef. Brother Han, they have food now. What we are doing is useless, a student from Zhengde Middle School said sullenly. Originally, they wanted to force the other party to bow their heads and starve them half to death. However, they didn't expect them to actually bring food. There was no need for them to go out and hunt. In the end, everything they did became a joke. The other students had ugly expressions on their faces. They were extremely sullen. They could imagine that the despicable bastard Xiaoping must be laughing at them in his heart. This is not useless. Han Shan clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. I don't believe that he brought so much food down from the spaceship. We have to stay on the Beast Island for 5 days. There are 3 of them. Even if that guy really did bring some food, it definitely won't be enough for 5 days. At most, they'll finish it in 2 days. There's only 3 days left. Without food, it'll be hard for them. He couldn't accept it. How could his plan fail just like that? Yeah, Brother Han is right. Even if we can't starve him to death, we'll make sure he doesn't get a single grain. When the time comes, he won't even be able to hunt a single beast. I'm afraid he'll become a laughingstock. The group of students from Zhengde Middle School gnashed their teeth. Sure enough, for the next day, the student from Zhengde Middle School continued to follow Xiaoping's group. They didn't seem to relax at all, as if they planned to follow them until the end of the trial. These bastards, they really won't go away. Jiang Yaru was furious. She originally thought that since the 3 of them had food, the students from Zhengde Middle School would retreat. She didn't expect them to become even more aggressive. If this continued, she and Chu Rong would probably lose the competition. Don't worry. Xiaoping's expression was very calm. Let's continue deeper into the forest. I don't believe they're that strong. Once they encounter a powerful beast, they're dead for sure. Wanting to clear out all the beasts in the forest without leaving a single one alive required absolute strength. But the deeper they went into the forest, the more terrifying the beasts they encountered would be. Even if the students from Zhengde Middle School were very strong, and all of them were elites, they still lacked the strength to face the increasingly strong and numerous beasts. Hearing this, Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin both nodded. They also felt that sooner or later, these people wouldn't be able to persist. All of a sudden, Xiaoping's eyes flashed. His spiritual power sensed a black shadow flickering in the trees in the distance. It was approaching at an extremely fast speed, like an ape. Clearly, this black shadow had also been noticed by the students from Zhengde Middle School. "It's a beast. Kill it," Han Shan ordered. Immediately, one of the students took out his bow and arrow. He knocked an arrow and shot it out with extreme speed. Extremely accurate, the arrow hit the black shadow in an instant. Unexpectedly, the black shadow let out a mournful scream, followed by the sound of blood splattering. What? This black shadow wasn't a beast, but a human? Chapter 85. No, it can't be. Did I kill someone? The student with the bow and arrow was shivering and his face was pale. He had never experienced such a thing before and was at a loss of what to do. The other students of Zhengde Middle School looked at each other and didn't know what to do because they didn't expect that there were other people on this uninhabited island. Moreover, the other party's movements were so sneaky and silent. It was normal to be mistaken for a beast. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, 5 or 6 figures appeared in the distance of the jungle, extremely fast, with a fierce momentum, and suddenly came in front of Xiaoping and others. One of them was a bald, middle-aged man. He saw that his right arm was hit by an arrow, bleeding, and his face was ferocious. He glanced at the students around him and roared, "Who is it? Which son of a bitch dares to shoot me with a bow and arrow you? Do you want to die? Tell me, do you want to die?" He roared like a tiger roaring, containing a monstrous sound wave, showing the tyrannical strength of the 8th heaven of martial arts, and suddenly suppressed Han Shan and others. Not only because the other party's voice was loud, but also because these dozen people were not good people at first glance. All of them wore small red vests and bulletproof jackets, revealing strong muscles and ferocious tattoos. Most importantly, they actually carried firearms, grenades, and were fully armed. Their bodies exuded a murderous aura. Obviously, these people had killed people. Compared with ordinary martial artists, these people obviously had an unusual murderous aura. Xiaoping's eyes flickered. He also felt that these people were not ordinary people. They seemed to be more ferocious than those underworld figures in Black Moon City. I'm sorry." The student with the bow and arrow trembled and said, I didn't mean to." With a bang, the bald middle-aged man stepped forward and slapped him. All of a sudden, the student was slapped to the ground, and even one of his front teeth flew out, mixed with blood. One could imagine how powerful this slap was. If sorry works, then what the fuck do we need the police for? He stared at the student who fell to the ground with a sneer. The students of Zhengde Middle School were scared half to death. When had they ever met such a cruel person who attacked without saying anything? It was completely unreasonable. Aren't you going a little overboard? As the leader of this group of students, Han Shan braced himself and stepped forward. He stared at the bald man and wanted to voice his opinion. Bang! In an instant, one of the men picked up a laser gun and fired a shot at Han Shan's thigh. The bullet pierced through his leg and blood splattered everywhere. Han Shan let out a blood-curdling scream. How could he have imagined that his opponent would be so ruthless and so fast? Even in the face of a laser gun, he had no way of defending himself. All of a sudden, he hugged his thigh and rolled on the ground. The intense pain quickly spread throughout his body. He had never felt such pain in his 18 years of life. The students of Zhengde Middle School were all shocked and terrified. Too much. He tried to kill me with an arrow just now, and I just slapped him. You said that I'm too much. Now, do you still think I'm too much? Just tell me, do you think I'm too much? The bald man smiled ferociously and stared at Han Shan and the others. The group of men also sneered. They looked at the people of Zhengde Middle School as if they were looking at prey. The black muzzles were pointed at them. It seemed that if anyone dared to move, they would immediately shoot and kill them. Han Shan didn't dare to speak at all. A lot of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. He finally understood that this group of people were simply outlaws. Trying to reason with them was simply courting death. Who are you people? This is an uninhabited island. How did you appear here? A student of Zhengde Middle School couldn't help but ask. The bald man smiled slightly. Even if I told you, you wouldn't know me. I'm from the cheetah group. Although they were a very famous group of bandits, they were only famous among the police. Most ordinary people didn't know them. After all, ordinary people were already worried about their own lives. How could they have the leisure to care about other things? What? You're from the Cheetah Group. Isn't this a very famous bandit group recently? They've committed all kinds of crimes and killed countless people. Recently, it seems that because of the robbery of the treasury, 16 people were killed and 10 injured. Now they're being hunted by the police. How did you appear here? A student was shocked. He seemed to have heard of the reputation of the Cheetah Group. Hearing this, the other students were shocked again and again. This group of people really weren't good people. They were actually all wanted criminals. Han Shan's intestines were green with regret. If he knew that there was such a group of ruthless people in the depths of the forest, he wouldn't have followed this shameless bastard Xiaoping here, even if he was beaten to death. But it was too late to say anything now. After falling into the hands of this group of criminals, how could he still have a life? Interesting. You're quite knowledgeable as a student. How do you know about us? Could it be that our reputation is already well known? The bald man and the others were very surprised. The student trembled and said, "My father is a police officer." So that's how it is. The group of people suddenly came to a realization. No wonder this kid was so familiar with the Cheetah Group. It turned out that it was because of his family background. If his father was a police officer, then it wouldn't be strange for him to know similar information. Every debt has a debtor. I didn't expect to find a police officer's son. Our luck is really good. The bald man looked at the student with a ferocious expression. Seeing such a ferocious gaze, the student was scared to the point of peeing. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have revealed his identity. His father's identity as a police officer was innately opposed to those bandits. It could be said that there was a grudge between the two sides. Now that he had fallen into the hands of this group of bandits, he wouldn't have a good ending. Don't act recklessly. Our teacher is near this island, and there's also a martial arts expert. If we press the help button and the teacher comes to rescue us, you will definitely die. The student stuttered. The bald man laughed and said, "Presumably, some of you secretly pressed the help button just now. Let me ask you, has your teacher come to rescue you now?" A look of disdain appeared on his face because they had already set up a large number of information jammers near the island to intercept the transmission of the help signal. Hearing this, someone's expression changed drastically because from the moment this group of people attacked Han Shan, he had been constantly pressing the help button, but until now, there was no response from his watch. In other words, the nearby signal must have been intercepted by this group of criminals, and no information could be transmitted. Chapter 86. It's over, it's completely over now. The students of Zhengde Middle School fell into a desperate mood. Even if they were the children of powerful families, even if they had a bright future and excellent aptitude, for these desperados, it was simply dog shit. These murderers don't care about their lives at all. How could they be afraid of their family background? Their background. In other words, if necessary, these murderers would not hesitate to kill them. Damn it, it's all that bastard Xiaoping's fault. We were completely killed by him. If this guy didn't walk around randomly and go deep into the jungle, how could we meet this group of murderers? A group of students of Zhengde Middle School were extremely sad and indignant. They regretted it to the extreme. If they knew it, they wouldn't have paid attention to Xiaoping. But now they were brought into a desperate situation by this guy and fell into the hands of this group of murderers. If they could still survive after that, it would be a blessing. After all, they were students. How could they be the opponents of this group of martial artists at the 8th and 9th heavenly layers with a lot of weapons on them? If they really dared to resist, they would be slaughtered in a face-to-face confrontation. Han Shan's face was pale, and he blamed himself to the extreme. If it weren't for his willfulness and following this bastard Xiaoping around, he wouldn't have entered this dangerous place. Now, because of an accident, all the students of Zhengde Middle School have to die on this uninhabited island. Even if they have power and a bright future, so what? If they die, it's just a corpse, not even a fart will be left. Hey, it seems that you know your situation. The bald man smiled. It's your bad luck to meet us. No, it should be lucky. After all, teachers like us are hard to find even if you have money. If there's a chance to teach you a lesson, It will definitely benefit you endlessly. The other murderers all had a ferocious face, looking at this group of students with a hint of coldness in their eyes. The students of Zhang de Middle School didn't have any mood to laugh. Falling into the hands of this group of murderers, they only felt despair, endless despair, and panic in their hearts. But first, let's teach some high school girls a lesson. This is a lesson for adults. I guarantee that you will remember it for the rest of your life. The bald man greedily looked at the girls from Zhang de Middle School. Girls from a private school like this had pretty faces and dignified manners. Most importantly, they exuded a youthful aura, which was not something those women who often hung around could compare to. Those villains usually hid from place to place and lived like dogs. How could they have the chance to meet such a woman? Now that they had met one, their eyes were filled with an ominous glint and incomparable desire. Immediately, the faces of a few girls from Zhang de Middle School turned pale and their bodies trembled. They knew that if they were to fall into the hands of these villains, they would definitely suffer inhumane torture. They all looked at the male students beside them with pleading eyes. However, the surrounding students all lowered their heads and avoided each other's gazes, feeling very guilty. After witnessing the power of those villains just now, who would dare to stand out? Just now, Han Shan had stood out and had one of his legs broken. This was a lesson for him. Although they were classmates, their relationship wasn't necessarily that good. At the very least, it wasn't at the level of being friends for life and death. They were just acquaintances. How could they exchange their lives for others? Not to mention, in this kind of situation, even if they exchanged their lives, it might not have any effect. Immediately, those girls despaired. Their eyes revealed helplessness. They no longer had the arrogance and insufferably arrogant attitude they had before. Boss, I think those two girls over there are not bad. One of them is especially fresh and has an otherworldly temperament. Even the school belle from my high school couldn't compare to her. One of the villains laughed mischievously and stared at Jiang Yaru. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Immediately, the group of villains noticed Jiang Yaru. Their eyes immediately lit up. Even among the crowd of girls, this girl was extremely outstanding. The other girls simply couldn't compare to her. She was like a crane in a flock of chickens. Not bad, not bad. This girl is not bad. While I'm done enjoying myself, it'll be your turn to have some fun. The bald man laughed mischievously. I'm a very generous person. After I eat the meat, there will definitely be soup for you to drink. Thank you, big brother. The group of villains were all bootlicking. Just what do you want? Seeing the bald man walk over, Jiang Yara frowned. Her heart was very uneasy. She wanted to find a way to leave this place. However, these villains were strong and had guns on them. Before she could even take a few steps, her legs would be broken by a single shot. Even someone as strong as Han Shan, who was at the 8th heavenly layer of martial disciple, wouldn't be able to resist. Zhu Erqin's face was also deathly pale. She didn't expect to encounter such a thing. What do I want? Looks like you're still a virgin. You actually don't know what I'm here for? The bald man was even more satisfied. Don't worry, I'll slowly teach you later. Jiang Yaru gritted her teeth. Even if she had to perish together with these villains, she absolutely didn't want to be humiliated. Suddenly, a figure stood in front of Jiang Yaru. The group of people were shocked to the extreme. Looking over, they saw Xia Ping standing in front of Jiang Yaru. He faintly said to the bald man, "You guys are the cheetah group, right? Give me some face and leave. They aren't women that you can touch." Jiang Yaru was dumbfounded. She didn't think that Xia Ping would actually stand out at this time. One had to know that the people from Righteous Virtue High School were usually arrogant and insufferably arrogant. Faced with this kind of situation, they were scared to the point of losing their balls. They wanted nothing more than to be ostriches and curl up on the ground. But now this shameless, lecherous guy actually dared to come out. The students from Righteous Virtue High School were sneering in their hearts. This kid came out, but what use was that? After coming out, he was still humiliated by these villains. He clearly knew that he wasn't their match, yet he still dared to stand out and act like a hero. He was too stupid. Han Shan was also looking down on him in his heart. He didn't think that this kid would end up well. If he angered these villains, even his head would be blown off. He couldn't be more dead. Give you some face? Hearing this, the bald man laughed loudly. Who the F***CK do you think you are? The president's son? You want me to give you some face? Why won't you give me some face? And you still say that they aren't women that I can touch. So what if I touch them? Are you gonna King bite me? As soon as he finished speaking, he looked at Xia Ping with disdain. His hand reached out, wanting to grab Jiang Yaru. But at this moment, Xia Ping suddenly made his move. Like a viper, he tore through the air and turned his palm into a blade. Snake fist, viper comes out of its hole. Bang! Chapter 87. The bald man's entire body froze. His eyes revealed a look of disbelief, fear, and unwillingness. He never thought that this brat would dare to attack him. Moreover, he didn't even have time to react and was killed in an instant. It wasn't his fault. Xiaoping's attack was just too fast, like a viper hunting for prey. Moreover, he wasn't on guard at all. He was only 2 meters away from Xiaoping. With such a short distance and such a fast speed, how could he block it? With a thud, the bald man's huge body fell to the ground like an iron tower. With a loud sound, dust flew up and blood dripped on the ground, dyeing it red. I said, if you move, you'll die. Xiaoping indifferently looked at the bald man's fallen body. You didn't listen, so you died. This. The students of Righteous Middle School were all stunned. This kind of change was too terrifying, too shocking. Who would have thought that this guy would dare to attack? Moreover, as soon as he attacked, he was merciless. In an instant, he killed the bald man and destroyed his heart. This kind of method, this kind of ruthlessness, how could an ordinary person do it? Han Shan was also dumbfounded. Even if you beat him to death, he wouldn't have thought that Xiaoping would dare to do such a thing. Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin were also dumbfounded. They also didn't think that Xiaoping would be so ruthless. Without any hesitation, he killed the criminal in one move, showing no mercy. Damn bastard, you're courting death. Seeing this scene, the group of criminals simply went crazy. Seeing their brother killed by this guy in one move, they couldn't bear this scene at all. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, one of the criminals pulled the trigger and accurately shot at Xiaoping. He wanted to kill this hateful guy in one shot and pierce his heart. However, Xiaoping's spiritual force had already spread out in all directions. He knew the surrounding 10 meters like the back of his hand. His figure flashed, and in an instant he dodged the shot. With a bang, the laser gun shot at a big tree in front of him. On the spot, the tree, which was as thick as the mouth of a bowl, was split in two. Just like that, it fell down, and the hole in the tree was charred black. One could imagine how powerful this shot was. How is this possible? He actually dodged this shot? The gunman couldn't believe his eyes, because he was also a sharpshooter, and his accuracy was almost 100%. Anyone who was targeted by him would die, but this kid actually dodged it. But what he didn't know was that Xiaoping had already cultivated his spiritual power and could sense his surroundings. Although his speed was not as fast as a laser, he could perceive the shooter's movements, the speed at which the shooter pulled the trigger, the angle of the shooting, and so on. As long as he could grasp this point, he would know where the laser was coming from and dodge in advance. This was the terror of the martial artist realm and the terror of controlling spiritual energy. It could be said that the cicada sensed the autumn wind before it moved. Even if there were a dozen gunmen shooting at the same time, they would not be able to kill a martial artist realm expert. Even some martial disciple realm experts with extremely strong reflexes and instincts to sense danger could do this. This was already the embryonic form of mastering a trace of spiritual power. However, Xiaoping was not this type of expert because he had already mastered mental energy. None of these criminals' movements could escape his mental energy scan. Crane fist, flying crane soars. In the instant that the criminal shot, Xiaoping dodged, and his entire body turned into a flying crane. In an instant, he arrived beside the criminal, turned his hand into a crane's beak, and forcefully pecked. With a bang, this peck produced a terrifying penetrating force. In an instant, it exploded on the criminal's throat. With a poochie sound, blood splattered everywhere like a fountain. Ugh, ugh. The criminal's eyes widened, revealing a look of horror and unwillingness. He covered his already leaking neck and fell to the ground, dead. Damn it, kill him, shoot him to death. The remaining 4 criminals were shocked and angry. In the blink of an eye, 2 of their companions had been killed by this kid. How could this be? All of them were about to go crazy with anger. They picked up their guns and wanted to shoot wildly. Bang! Without waiting for them to make a move, Xiaoping trampled the ground with 1 foot, like a wild elephant trampling on ground. A terrifying tremor occurred within a radius of 100 meters. The ground swayed, and even several trees collapsed. A huge pit appeared on the ground. Several rocks on the side were shattered, and countless gravel appeared. How could the 4 criminals have expected this? They were suddenly caught off guard and couldn't stand steadily. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Xiaoping grabbed with his big hand and immediately grabbed 2 or 3 stones. Just like that, he threw them, breaking through the air and making a sharp, piercing sound. In an instant, 3 of the criminals' chests were pierced. They screamed and fell to the ground just like that. The remaining one was shocked and angry. In just a few breaths, 5 of his companions were killed by the opponent. He was the only one left. This kind of tragic situation, even if he was beaten to death, he couldn't imagine it. Damn bastard. Since you want to kill me, then let's die together. The criminal went crazy. He actually wanted to pull the grenade on his waist and detonate it on the spot. He wanted to die together. Everyone was shocked. They all knew how terrifying this grenade was. It seemed to be called a vibrating grenade and was specially used to deal with monsters with tyrannical defense. Once this kind of grenade exploded, everything within a radius of several hundred meters would be affected and razed to the ground. Even if they didn't die, they would be seriously injured. At this time, Jiang Yaru, who was standing in the back, moved. Her movement was like a bolt of lightning. She suddenly made a move, and her jade-like white palm lightly patted. Bang! An explosion sounded out in the air. The slap landed on the criminal's back. In an instant, his spine was smashed into pieces. His entire body was sent flying like a cannonball. He flew more than 10 meters, smashing through 3 or 4 trees in succession before finally stopping. But when he finally stopped, his lungs had been smashed into pieces. He was already dead. The group of righteous Virtue Middle School students were all shocked. They were scared half to death. This girl looked very weak, but they didn't expect her to be so ruthless as soon as she attacked. It was a life. No wonder she was this shameless Xiaoping's girlfriend. The 2 of them were basically the same kind of person. Han Shan, who had a broken leg, was also trembling a bit. Wasn't it a bit inappropriate to pursue a woman like this? If he wasn't careful, he might be beaten half to death. Xiaoping was also a bit surprised. He also didn't expect Jiang Yaru to be so fierce as soon as she attacked. She didn't have the slightest psychological barrier. After killing 1 person, Jiang Yaru was also a bit scared. But in that kind of situation, there was no other way. Either this criminal died or they died. There was no room for hesitation. Do. Chapter 88. Hey, at this time, a rough voice came out of the communicator. Baldy, what's the situation on your side? Answer me immediately. Everyone held their breaths. They were in awe. They didn't expect these criminals to have accomplices. What's wrong? Baldy, why aren't you answering? Did something happen? Do you need backup? The voice paused for a moment, feeling a little strange, so it asked again. Bang! Xiaoping quickly stepped forward and crushed the communicator, turning it into fragments on the spot. Naturally, the stranger's voice couldn't be heard again. Oh no, these criminals have accomplices. Now that their companion has been killed, they'll definitely come back for revenge. Jiang Yaru's face was solemn. She immediately thought of the consequences. A student from Righteous Middle School said in fear, report to the teacher immediately. This is no longer a trial, but a murder. If this continues, we'll definitely be killed. Don't joke around. How do we report to the teacher? Didn't you try just now? The communicator on the watch can't transmit a signal, and the teacher on the ship doesn't know what's happening right now. Not necessarily. The other party's signal jammer must have a certain range. As long as we leave this range, we can use the signal to contact the teacher. Who knows how big this range is? Don't forget, we've already been targeted by that group of criminals. Their people will catch up at any time. I'm afraid you'll be killed by them before you even leave this range. Yeah, That group of criminals aren't ordinary criminals. They're armed to the teeth and have grenades. I'm afraid they also have snipers. They can kill us from a few kilometers away. If we don't run, what do we do? Stay here and wait for death. Many of the students were terrified, completely at a loss. They were all just students. When had they ever encountered such a life and death crisis? When had they ever been chased by such criminals? Everyone present couldn't help but look at Xiaoping, because it was this man who had just killed so many criminals and saved them. In this kind of situation, the opinion of the strong was worth listening to. There's no need to run, Xiaoping said indifferently. Even if they don't come, I'll still go and kill them. He was very clear on one thing. In the cruel jungle, whoever dared to turn their back to the wolves would be the first to die. On the contrary, those who dared to risk their lives will be chased away by the jackals and wolves. Crazy, you're crazy. Han Shan looked at Xiaoping as if he was a madman and said, Do you know who they are? They're from the cheetah group, a group that kills without batting an eye. There are dozens of them. All of them are at the 8th or even 9th layer of the martial disciple realm, fully armed. Just 5 or 6 of them are enough to kill us all, and you still want to kill them? You were only able to kill these people because they underestimated us and were careless. That's why you succeeded. Once they really notice you, you definitely won't be able to escape. I won't go crazy with you. I want to retreat and return to the flying shuttle to report this to teacher. He said what many people were thinking. In the face of such cruel criminals, few of them had the courage. Escaping was already a skill, but they actually wanted to kill the criminals. If this wasn't courting death, then what was? Forget it. Then let's go our separate ways. Don't follow us anymore. Xiaoping was too lazy to argue with them. He waved his hand and left with Jiang Yaru and Zhu Erqin. Wait, let's go together. At this time, 3 or 4 girls from Zhengde Middle School also left the line and followed them. Roland, are you crazy? You actually followed that group of idiots. Do you want to die? Han Shan and the others were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that these girls would make such a decision. The girl Roland sneered, I don't believe in your strength. If there's really danger, I'm afraid the few of us will be the scapegoats. If we stay, we'll just be cannon fodder for you. The other 2 or 3 girls also nodded. Obviously, what happened just now had made them completely see through the character of Han Shan and the others. They bullied the weak and feared the strong. If it was in peacetime, this might not be a big deal, but in this life and death situation, such a character was fatal. Han Shan and the others all lowered their heads, their faces incomparably ashamed. Their performance just now was indeed terrible. Seeing these girls about to be defiled, they didn't even dare to let out a fart. Compared to Xiaoping, they simply weren't men. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this time, Xiaoping and the others quickly left. Roland and the other girls also quickly followed. Soon, they disappeared from Han Shan's sight and continued deeper into the forest. Big Brother Han, what should we do now? The remaining boys looked at each other in dismay. They could only look at their only pillar of support, Han Shan. They were a bit at a loss. Ignore those bitches. Let's go. Han Shan gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand up. He had just done some emergency treatment, so he could temporarily move. In any case, let's leave this place first and notify the teacher. Since those girls have already decided, I can't be bothered to care how they die. He had a belly full of anger. This time, not only did he fail to mess with Xiaoping, but he was also injured by the thugs. Even his reputation in the school had plummeted. Even those girls who used to worship him were looking down on him. Damn you, Xiaoping. I'm not done with you. Han Shan gritted his teeth. However, no matter how dissatisfied he was, he could only temporarily endure it. Otherwise, if they were chased by those thugs, they would be in trouble. At this time, on top of a mountain peak, the cheetah bandits and the others had solemn expressions. Looking at the communicator that had turned into a busy tone and could no longer receive any sound, the leader Lin Bao's face was gloomy. Since he couldn't contact his subordinates, it was conceivable that they must be in trouble. Boss, there's no sound from Baldy's side. He must have been killed. A man with a knife scar gritted his teeth. Lin Bao clenched his fists. I told him not to cause trouble at this time, but he didn't listen. He actually said that he was going to find a few female students to play and have some fun. In the end, something happened. Although those people are students, there are also martial arts powerhouses. There are also some monsters and geniuses among them. Whoever dares to underestimate them will die. He was extremely angry. Not only was he angry that Baldy dared to disobey his orders, but he was also angry that someone actually dared to kill his subordinates. Boss, we must take revenge for this. The man with the knife scar gritted his teeth. They killed the people of our cheetah bandits. We can't just let them go. They must pay with their blood. Moreover, once these students escape, they will definitely report to their school's teacher. When that happens, they will bring a large group of people, and we will be finished. We must kill all these students. Leave no one alive. He exuded a murderous aura. You take a small team and kill them. Lean Bao's teeth revealed a cold, murderous aura. Chapter 89. In the depths of the forest, inside a cave. Bang, bang, bang. Countless lasers shot through the air, bombarding the muddy ground and creating craters. When they hit a rock, it immediately shattered into pieces. In just a breath's time, the place was blown into a mess, and yellow smoke billowed. Damn it, those bandits' firepower is too fierce. Jiang Yar's expression was gloomy. They couldn't get out of the cave. If they dared to go out, they would immediately be hit by the fierce lasers or even shells and blown to bits. Xiaoping, Zhu Erqin, Roland, and a few other girls from Righteous High School were also hiding inside the cave. Originally, they wanted to ambush the bandits, but they didn't expect that the bandits' movements were too fast. They were actually able to discover their whereabouts in an instant, and from a few kilometers away, they were already suppressing them with firepower. Left with no choice, they could only hide inside the cave and temporarily preserve their lives. These bandits not only have laser guns, grenades, and even rocket launchers, Zhu Erqin said in a low voice. The most frightening thing is that they have a sniper. He's almost 100% hit. Everyone nodded. The threat of that sniper was too great. He was shooting at them from 4 or 5 kilometers away, and his accuracy was frighteningly high. If it wasn't for Xiaoping's extremely high sense of danger, being able to predict the direction of the bullets in advance and dodge in time, perhaps 2 or 3 of them would have been killed in an instant. But even so, they could only hide inside the cave, not daring to go outside. The moment they went out, they would immediately be targeted by that terrifying sniper, and their heads would be blown off. But continuing to hide in the cave isn't a solution, Roland said in a low voice. The enemy's firepower is fierce, and they can slowly approach our cave. When the time comes, we just need to send someone up and throw a powerful grenade into the cave. They'll kill us in an instant. Jiang Yaru and the others' expressions were solemn. They knew that the bandits were suppressing them with firepower because they were far away, but once they got close, they would most likely lose their lives. But it was also impossible to fight back because the enemy was using long-range attacks, and they were barehanded. Even if they wanted to attack, it was impossible. Xiaoping, what do you think? Jiang Yaru turned to look at Xiaoping. The other girls also looked at Xiaoping. It could be said that Xiaoping was their backbone now. What thoughts? Xiaoping touched his chin. The opponent's sniper, laser guns, grenades, and so on were indeed a great threat. Most importantly, he did not have any long-range attack methods. Thinking of this, his heart moved. System, do you have any good hidden weapon techniques? It can attack enemies from afar? Host. The voice of the system came over. There's a cultivation method called Nailhead 7 Arrows, which is a supreme hidden weapon method. When practiced to the extreme, its power is no less than Dark North's body protection skill. It uses a unique wrist strength to throw hidden weapons. It is extremely powerful and can kill people without leaving a trace. Even if it has just started cultivating, it can still kill enemies from several kilometers away. If you reach the Great Accomplishment realm, you'll be able to kill your enemies even if they are separated by a world and destroy their souls. The corner of Xiaoping's mouth twitched. This cultivation method did sound powerful, but could he afford it? Indeed, the host can't afford it for the time being. The system was very clear about Xiaoping's financial situation, but you can buy the first level of the cultivation method. 2,000 hatred points, this is definitely worth it. Okay, I'll buy it. Xiaoping made a prompt decision. Such a cultivation method was indeed what he needed now. If he learned this hidden weapon cultivation method, then even if he was a few kilometers away, he would be able to kill the enemy, so he would not be afraid of the guns in the hands of those bandits. Rumble, at this moment, a warm current immediately poured into Xia Ping's mind, and countless chants flowed into his heart. His hands moved like butterflies, and countless phantoms appeared in the air. In just a few breaths, he learned the first level of the nailhead 7 arrows technique. Amazing! Xia Ping could feel that after learning this cultivation method, the strength of his hands seemed to be twice as strong as before, and his wrist strength was even more tyrannical. Even with a light flick of his finger, he could eject a stone several kilometers away. If he used a unique hidden weapon technique, then the lethality would be absolutely terrifying. Xia Ping, what's wrong? Jiang Yaru felt that Xia Ping's current expression was a little strange, and subconsciously asked. Hearing this, Xia Ping said, Nothing, I just want to tell you one thing, don't worry. Don't worry. All the girls blinked, not understanding why Xia Ping would say such a thing. Jiang Yaru was even more curious. Do you have any good way to deal with those bandits? The method is very simple. I'll go out and kill all these bandits. Xia Ping said lightly. Bullshit. Jiang Yaru's nose was crooked from anger. What kind of bullshit method was this? If it was so easy to kill those bandits, they wouldn't have to hide in the cave like this. They wanted to kill all the bandits, but they would probably be shot in the head by the enemy's sniper as soon as they stepped out of the cave. She looked at Xia Ping angrily. You guys hide here. I'll be back soon. Xia Ping didn't explain. With a big slap of his hand, he smashed a rock next to him, grabbed a handful of gravel, put it in his pocket, and strode out of the cave. Xia Ping, are you crazy? Jiang Yaru and the others were all shocked. They wanted to stop him, but it was already too late. Xia Ping was extremely fast, and in an instant, he had left the cave. At this time, the bandits were looking at the cave mockingly, pulling the trigger from time to time. Laser beams bombarded the surroundings of the cave, intimidating Xia Ping and the others. Their expressions were very relaxed. The one in the lead was the Scarface man. After receiving their boss's order, they immediately followed orders and immediately ran into Xia Ping and the others. That group of students is really pitiful. They just had to run into us, the elites of the cheetah group. They're all high school girls. You guys have to be gentle. If they weren't girls, but guys, I would have already used a rocket launcher to kill them. Why would I wait until now? If we can capture these high school girls alive, we'll have a good time tonight. I saw those girls. They're all very high quality, not something those nightingales can compare to. How can they compare? One is pillowed by thousands, while the other is just experiencing the first awakening of love. The taste is completely different. The group of bandits snickered, their eyes shining with an evil light. Shut up. Chapter 90. Brother Scar, I don't think you need to worry. A bandit shouted. Those students are all unarmed, and we are fully armed. No matter how powerful they are, I'm afraid they will be killed before they come to us. What are you afraid of? That's right, the reason why Baldy and the others died must be because they were careless and approached them. As long as we attack from a distance, no matter how powerful their martial arts are, they can't bite us. Their hands have to be so long. Indeed, we still have sharpshooters here. We can kill the enemy from 5 kilometers away. If there is any danger, we can directly shoot them in the head. We're very safe. A group of bandits shouted, not afraid at all, not taking it seriously at all. In fact, the knife-scarred man said to be cautious, but he didn't put this group of students in his eyes. After all, they were all bandits with the strength of the 8th or even the 9th heavenly layer. They could kill these students with their bare hands. Not to mention that they had grenades, laser guns, and other weapons on them. If they couldn't kill these students with this, they might as well kill themselves with a piece of tofu so as not to waste food. However, he still had to say something. He said in a deep voice. In short, the boss warned us that we must not be careless this time. We must make sure that those students have no resistance before we can approach. If any of you die because of carelessness, don't blame me. His tone was very harsh. Brother Scar, don't worry, I'm going to shoot and break their hands and feet one by one, so that even if they are immortals, they can't threaten us. A bandit said grimly. It seems that there's a man in that group of students. His strength seems to be good. He is in the 7th heavenly layer of martial arts. Trash. That man is useless. Just kill him directly. That's right, we only need the women. Kill all the men. Leave no one alive. Several bandits talked and revealed a murderous aura, wanting to approach the cave. Be careful. There's a figure coming out of the cave. It seems that he wants to fight desperately. 5 kilometers away, a sniper was staring at the cave with an optical telescope all the time and immediately noticed this situation. So, he told the other bandits the news through the walkie-talkie. It's that male student. Some of the bandits also noticed a figure rushing out of the cave. He was as fast as a cheetah, but his face was full of disdain. Are you trying to struggle before death? Sniper, eliminate him. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying bullet was shot from 5 kilometers away. The speed was extremely fast, almost reaching the sound barrier. The power of such a bullet could easily tear apart an armored vehicle. If a human body was hit by this bullet, it would explode in an instant and be torn to pieces. Are they here? A cold light flashed in Xiaoping's eyes. His mental force spread out in all directions, and he immediately sensed the flow of air in the distance. His figure flashed, and he immediately dodged the bullet. With a bang, the bullet smashed into the ground, instantly creating a hole with a diameter of 2 to 3 meters. Soil splattered everywhere, and the force of the impact even cracked a nearby rock. One could imagine how terrifying this sniper bullet was. Damn it, he dodged it. The sniper couldn't believe his eyes. He had absolute confidence in his strength. He could casually kill an expert above the 9th layer of the martial disciple realm, and he could blow his head off with one shot. But now that student actually easily dodged his bullet and made it miss? Oh no, that guy found us and ran towards us, a bandit shouted. Another hook-nosed bandit said disdainfully, Run? Is that idiot here to die? We can shoot randomly and turn him into a beehive in an instant. What's there to be afraid of? At this moment, a stone flew in the air. Its speed was so fast that it actually rubbed against the air in the air, producing sparks. It suddenly came to the side of the hook-nosed bandit. Bang! Immediately, the hook-nosed bandit's head was penetrated by the stone, and his head exploded on the spot like a watermelon. His whole body slowly fell like this, and he didn't even have time to scream. Before he died, he still maintained the posture of pulling the trigger. No, old 15 is dead. He was killed by that bastard. Damn beast! Shouted a bandit at the side. He was furious to the extreme. His peer had been killed right beside him. But before he could do anything, another stone flew, tearing through the air. It was more terrifying than a sniper bullet. With a bang, it pierced the bandit's throat. The bandit covered his throat that was bleeding profusely. His eyes showed a look of unwillingness and horror. It seemed that he couldn't believe that he was killed like this. He wanted to say something, but his throat was pierced, and he was already leaking air. He couldn't say anything. His body fell like this, and the yellow soil was dyed red with blood. Damn it, that damn beast. Kill him. Shoot him immediately. Sniper, do it. 2 more people were killed by him. That bastard. I must kill him. The remaining bandits were completely crazy. They were so arrogant before, thinking that they could kill Xiaoping and the others. They even planned to enjoy a few female high school students. The plan was all ready. But who would have thought that before the plan started, 2 of them were killed? Bang, bang, bang. Another 3 stones flew out like black lightning, and like accurate missiles, they found the position of 3 bandits in an instant. With a few spluttering sounds, they easily pierced their hearts. They could only let out a muffled groan, fell to the ground, and died. Sniper, what the F*** are you doing? Didn't you eat today? Why don't you kill him? Shoot. Even the scar-faced man's eyes were bloodshot, and his heart was like a balloon that was about to burst. 5 elites died at once. Even the cheater regiment couldn't bear such a loss. Brother Scar, it's not working. We can't lock onto his position at all. It's as if he has eyes all over his body. The sniper was also burning with anxiety. It was the first time he had seen such an opponent. He couldn't lock onto his opponent's position at all. Or rather, he thought he had locked onto his opponent, but the moment he fired, the opponent escaped again. It was as if the opponent could predict the future. This was simply the nemesis of snipers like them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Another 3 stones flew out. They zigzagged in the air, penetrated the trees, and exploded the heads of 3 bandits. Their heads exploded like watermelons on the spot. Even if they hid under a tree, under a rock, or even crawled on the ground, they would still die. Chapter 91. Damn it. Damn it. The Knife Scar Man was enraged to the extreme. In just a few breaths of time, 8 of their team members had been killed by that student, and their team only had 11 or 12 people. Apart from the sniper, there were still 3 people left alive. Now he finally knew why the bald man died. It was not because of carelessness, nor was it because of a sneak attack, but because there was a monster among this group of students. Brother Knife Scar, let's retreat. If this goes on, we will definitely be wiped out. The sniper also felt a strong sense of uneasiness. He felt that he seemed to be targeted. Even if they were separated by 4 or 5 kilometers, he didn't know why he didn't feel any sense of security. Damn it! The knife-scarred man gritted his teeth, but how could he be willing to retreat like this? He had a small team of 12 people, all of whom were elites, powerhouses above the 8th heavenly layer, fully armed with laser guns and grenades. But now, 8 of them were killed by a student and forced to flee for their lives. How could he be willing? Bang, bang. But with such a delay, 2 stones shot out again, one penetrating a rock half the height of a person, and suddenly a bandit's heart burst, and the whole body was pierced. A bandit tried to escape through the air, but he was also hit on the head by the stone, smashing it into pieces on the spot. A headless body fell heavily, blood flowing. Run! The knife-scarred man was so scared that he peed his pants. He was no longer unwilling. Now was not the time to think about face. It was the time to see if he could escape from this demon. Right now, only he and the sniper were still alive. But the sniper was on a mountain 5 kilometers away. In fact, he was the only one left alive here. He couldn't believe that a little student, a guy at the 7th heaven of martial arts, could wipe out his entire team with his bare hands. It was a terrible mess. Shoo! At this moment, another stone flew, tearing through the air, producing a fierce sound of breaking through the air, and suddenly made the scarred man feel extreme danger. Bastard! The scarred man's hair stood up, but he was also a powerhouse at the 9th heaven of martial arts. He didn't know how many times he had gone through life and death, and his instinct for life and death crisis had long been tempered. With a loud bang, he turned his hand over and punched the rock into smithereens. He actually dodged this move. Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. He had used the head-piercing 7 arrows art to shoot rocks and kill so many enemies. It was simply successful in every endeavor. Although his strength had weakened a little, he didn't expect that the scarred man would be able to block it. However, it was only one move. Next time, this guy's luck might not be so good. Boom! At this moment, the sniper on the hilltop began to move. Another bullet came from afar. It was incomparably fast, like a poisonous snake, aiming at Xiaoping. In fact, it wasn't just one bullet, but 3 at the same time, separated into 3 different positions, as if trying to seal off Xiaoping's escape routes. As long as one hit, Xiaoping's body would definitely be torn apart. Well done! The scarred man was immediately overjoyed. Just now, he had felt a suffocating sense of death. Blocking that move just now had only been a matter of luck. It had already consumed all of his energy. If the monster continued to attack him, he would definitely die. Fortunately, there was a sniper covering him. What a vengeful spirit! Xiaoping's eyes flashed. If he didn't kill the sniper, he was afraid that he would still be a hindrance. Moreover, this kind of person was the most annoying. Just because he was far away, he thought that others couldn't kill him and was unscrupulous. Shio, shio, shio. In an instant, he also threw 3 rocks at the same time, leaving a strange trajectory in the air. It was incomparably fast and just happened to arrive in front of the 3 bullets. With a few bangs, the collision between the bullets and the rocks immediately caused a huge explosion. What? The sniper's eyes turned green. In fact, He was very confident in his attack. Even if this shot couldn't kill him, it would be able to blow off this kid's arm. However, who would have thought that this kid was so terrifying? Randomly throwing 3 rocks could collide with the 3 bullets shot by him. It was simply miraculous. Impossible, this kind of skill can't be done so easily. Luck, this is definitely luck. Next time, his luck won't be so good. I'll definitely shoot him dead. The sniper gritted his teeth. He felt extremely unwilling, but in the next second, his eyes widened. No way, what does this kid want to do? The man with the scar in the distance was also a little stunned because he saw Xia Ping actually grab a watermelon-sized rock on the ground and stood there. However, it was not aimed at him, but at the sniper on the mountain peak 5 kilometers away. No way, is this kid crazy? Does he want to kill the sniper from 5 kilometers away? The man with the scar couldn't believe the idea that emerged from the depths of his heart. To be honest, even the strong in the martial warrior realm might not be able to do this, let alone a little guy in the 7th heaven of the martial disciple realm. This was a dream. First style of 7 arrows, piercing heart and bone. Xia Ping grabbed the stone. His right hand seemed to turn into a steel claw, deeply inserted into the stone. He scratched out 5 marks and penetrated into the stone. He separated his feet, bent his body slightly, and stretched his spine like a giant dragon. The muscles of his whole body were tense, and the strength of every bone was transmitted. This tyrannical strength continued to extend from the soles of his feet, spine, arms, and finally to the 5 fingers, producing an extremely terrifying power. The whole person was like a god from the ancient times. Boom! With such a smash, the watermelon-sized stone flew out, madly rubbing against the air. Because the speed was too fast, it actually produced a fierce flame, began to burn, and turned into a fireball. As the stone flew fast, the flame burned, and pieces of stone fell from the air. The size of the stone slowly shrank, from the size of a watermelon to the size of half a watermelon, and then to the size of an apple. In the end, it was only the size of a glass bead. No. Originally, the sniper was still laughing at Xia Ping, thinking that he was venting his anger. However, when he looked through the telescope, the stone actually crossed a distance of 5 kilometers in a breath. In the next second, the glass bead-sized stone came in front of him. Immediately, his mind went blank. There was no time to react, and there was no way to react. Bang! The stone pierced the sniper's head in an instant, and the huge impact sent the sniper's body flying. Finally, he was thrown into the air, flying more than 10 meters before falling to the ground. Chapter 92. This Knife Scar, who clearly saw this scene, immediately pissed his pants. Just what kind of monster was this student? From a distance of 5 kilometers, he actually killed the sniper in an instant. Was he still human? Just how stupid were they to provoke such a monster? Weren't they just looking to die? But it was already too late, far too late. When most of their people were dead, only then did he realize the horror of this matter. What use was this? I have to escape. I have to tell the boss about this immediately. Knife Scar turned around and fled. He was simply risking his life, wishing that his parents could give him more legs. But before he could even take a few steps, Xia Ping's figure appeared in front of him. No. Knife Scar cried out in fear. It's our fault. We really were wrong. We shouldn't have provoked you guys. Spare me this time. I won't dare next time. I really won't dare again. Xia Ping stepped forward and threw a punch. Tiger Fist. Fierce tiger unleashes the cage. Bang! In an instant, Knife Scar's chest was hit. His entire heart was smashed into pieces. Even his body was sent flying, smashing through 5 or 6 trees in a row. When he fell to the ground, he was dead. Knife Scar's eyes were wide open. Before he died, he revealed an expression of unwillingness, regret, and fear. If he could turn back time, he wouldn't have led a team to wipe out the students even if he was beaten to death. Spare you. Xia Ping indifferently looked at Knife Scar's corpse, his eyes emotionless. What a joke. Sparing you is up to the King of Hell. My mission is to send you to the King of Hell. For these bandits who wanted his life, the only way was to kill. Seeing that these bandits were all dead, Xia Ping took away their laser guns, hand grenades, bulletproof vests, and other weapons. It would be a waste if he didn't take these things. Moreover, he would probably have to face the counterattack of the entire cheetah group. Arming Jiang Yaru and the others was also very beneficial. At least he wouldn't have to divert his attention to protect them. After doing this, he walked towards the cave. At this time, on a mountain peak in the center of Beast Island. The leader of the cheetah squad, Lin Bao, had an extremely gloomy expression on his face. His heart was filled with anxiety and anger. He had tried to contact the Scarred Man, but there had been no reply. After all, this was the Scar Man. Not a single one of the 12 people that had been sent out had returned. Even though they were unwilling to admit it, these people had definitely been wiped out. Damn it! With a snap, Lin Bao crushed the communication device in his hand. He was enraged to the extreme. Who is it? Who killed the people of my cheetah group? Does anyone die? With the death of a 12-man elite squad, in addition to the death of the bald man and his men, the entire cheetah squad was now more than half dead. It could be said that this kind of loss was too heavy. It was simply a serious injury. In particular, the sniper's death was unimaginably tragic. After all, there weren't many sharpshooters with such talent in the world. He had spent a lot of effort to invite him to join, but now he was dead. Boss, the scarlet blood fruit is about to ripen, a subordinate reported. At this time, on the big tree in the middle, there were a few fruits that seemed to be emitting a bright red glow. They emitted a strange fragrance that seemed to fill the entire valley, causing the cells in one's body to groan. And this fragrance attracted the attention of countless beasts in the surroundings. All of them were incomparably crazy and restless, as if they wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to charge forward. However, they still endured it because the fruit had not ripened yet. Damn it! Lin Bao clenched his teeth. His expression was unsettled. No matter who you are, you must die for killing the people of my cheetah group. As long as you stay on Beast Island, there is no way you can live. Just you wait. Once I get my hands on the scarlet blood fruit, I will immediately take your life. His body emitted a terrifying, murderous aura. It was obvious that this peerless villain was enraged. Even when he was betrayed by his brothers, he had never been this angry. However, Lin Bao was also a person with a deep mind. He had the disposition of an ambitious and ruthless person. Very quickly, he calmed down from his endless anger. He said to his subordinate, "Is the plan ready?" "Boss, it's ready." The subordinate smiled sinisterly. "We've already set up a large number of bombs in the vicinity. Once the scarlet blood fruit ripens, we will immediately blow up all these beasts and raze this place to the ground. At that time, not only will we obtain the scarlet blood fruit, we will also obtain the corpses of these beasts. This is also a huge harvest. This time, we're going to be rich." He was very pleased with himself. Lin Bao nodded. "Good. Continue to wait. Don't let anything happen in the surroundings." "Yes, boss." The group of subordinates replied loudly. At this time, Xiaoping had already returned to the cave. Xiaoping, seeing a familiar figure walking in from outside the cave, Jiang Yaru immediately cried out in surprise. But very quickly, she discovered that the things in Xiaoping's hands were shockingly laser guns, hand grenades, and other weapons. "These things, where did you get them from?" Jiang Yaru was dumbfounded. She didn't remember Xiaoping being an arms dealer. Just where did he get these weapons from? Xiaoping said lightly, "I got it from those bandits." "How is that possible?" Jiang Yaru was stunned. Those bandits weren't idiots. How could they obediently hand over these weapons? But she quickly thought of a possibility. Her expression immediately changed. "Don't tell me you killed those bandits?" "That's right. Not a single one was left alive." Xiaoping nodded. "What?" Hearing this, not only Jiang Yaru, but even Zhu Erqin, Roland, and the other girls were all dumbfounded. There were more than a dozen heavily armed bandits outside, and one of them was even a sniper. They were incomparably terrifying. Such tyrannical figures were actually all killed by this man. Although they also knew that Xiaoping went out of the cave to deal with a group of bandits, they never thought that Xiaoping would really succeed in this matter. Impossible. You're not joking, are you? Jiang Yaru didn't dare to believe it. To kill these heavily armed bandits, One had to be at least in the martial warrior realm. Xiaoping faintly smiled. Is it real or not? Just go outside and take a look. The corpses are all outside. He pointed outside the cave, his attitude very casual. Jiang Yaru and the others were skeptical. But there really was no gunfire outside. It was so quiet that it was a little frightening. It was as if it was the eve of a storm. Chapter 93. No, it can't be. They're all dead. Jiang Yaru and the others carefully went out of the cave and immediately saw the corpses lying on the ground. They were inexplicably shocked. Those incomparably ferocious gangsters were now lying on the ground without any breath. Is almost equal to obviously. They were already dead and couldn't be more dead. What about the sniper? The sniper 5 kilometers away. Zhu Erqin couldn't help but ask. Xiaoping said lightly, "Don't worry, he's also dead." What? All the girls were shocked. This news was even more shocking than the fact that all these gangsters were dead. After all, it wasn't that easy to kill a sniper. 5 kilometers was enough for a sniper to kill any enemy. But now that the sniper was dead, there was no doubt that it was also killed by this man. How did he do it? Jiang Yaru and the others were extremely curious. It must be known that these gangsters not only had many weapons on them, but they were also martial artists themselves, at least above the 8th layer of martial disciple. For such a character, even if they were barehanded, they might not be able to defeat him, let alone kill him. It's very simple, because I'm very strong. Xiaoping smiled slightly. Boast. Just keep boasting. Jiang Yaru looked at this guy blowing his own trumpet. No matter how strong he was only at the 7th layer of martial disciple. How could he kill these enemies with his bare hands? In order to kill those gangsters without any losses, this guy must have used some means that they didn't know. Xiaoping, you're really amazing. A tall girl from Zhengde Middle School looked at Xiaoping with a face full of admiration. We're all students. Why are you so amazing? How do you cultivate? Can you teach me? No matter what means Xiaoping used to kill those gangsters, the fact that he killed them could not be changed. Moreover, saving them was enough to prove Xiaoping's strength. Even the number 1 expert of Zhengde Middle School, Han Shan, was not this man's opponent. It's not a problem to teach you, but cultivation is a very secretive thing. I think we may need to find another time and a secret place to discuss in detail. Xiaoping showed a face of righteousness, indicating that teaching people was not a problem at all. He was a good teacher, especially when it came to girls' requests. He rarely refused. Bullshit. Jiang Yaru was half angered to death. Why do they have to find another time and a more secluded place to ask for advice on cultivation? Couldn't they just ask here? This bastard clearly harbored evil intentions. However, the tall girl's eyes immediately lit up. She giggled and said, "That's great. Why don't we set the time at the end of this trial? The location will be my house. That place is very secluded, and I guarantee that we won't be disturbed. Also, my parents are on a business trip. They're not at home." Her tone was bold and hot. Your parents aren't home? Xiaoping touched his chin, and his eyes suddenly lit up. That's good, that's good. It's best if my parents aren't home. Shameless. Jiang Yaru was so angry that his nose was crooked. These two adulterers had actually started to flirt with each other, acting as if there was no one else around. They had even gone to their own home, and even his parents weren't home. It was obvious what they were planning. Brother Xia, don't listen to that saw. What's so fun about going to her house? Why don't we go to my house? A voluptuous girl stepped forward. Her beautiful eyes were filled with boldness. My bedroom just so happens to have a large bed that can accommodate 3 to 5 people. It's very big and soft, very suitable for cultivation. Go die. Don't listen to them. These women all have evil intentions. They definitely want to harm you, Brother Xia. I'm much more serious. I just want to ask you some questions on cultivation. It's just that it might take a long time. We might need to talk for an entire night. What kind of questions do you need to ask for an entire night? Normally, I've never seen you study so hard. Don't you always like to put on makeup and go shopping? Can I work hard now? A few female students from Righteous Virtue Middle School chattered. As women of the upper class, they were very bold in expressing their feelings. They were completely different from ordinary girls who were bashful and shy. Cultivation, my ass. Hearing these words, Jiang Yaru's face turned green. Why did they have to talk about their own bed when they wanted to cultivate? It was so big and soft. What kind of cultivation was done on a bed? These bastards were simply shameless. They wanted to talk for an entire night. They were a man and a woman alone in the same room. As they talked, they go to bed. Why the hell were they still cultivating here? That wasn't the way to catch a man. Furthermore, as women, they should be a bit more reserved. How could they all be so shameless? Cough, cough. Xia Ping coughed. I'm a very righteous person. Don't worry. When the time comes, I'll teach you well. You'll all benefit greatly. Hee, when the time comes, we'll learn from each other. After all, we don't have much experience in this kind of thing. The group of girls giggled and surrounded Xiaoping. Xiaoping, get over here. Jiang Yaru couldn't take it anymore. If this continued, this man would probably start messing around with those girls even before the trial ended. How could this kind of thing happen? They were all just high school students. How could they do such a shameless thing like this? As a rumored girlfriend, a fake girlfriend, she definitely wouldn't allow this kind of thing to happen. She immediately pulled Xia Ping away to get rid of those shameless girls. Hee. Seeing this, the girls from Righteous Virtue Middle School all giggled. They seemed very happy. They also knew about the rumored relationship between Xia Ping and Jiang Yaru, but they didn't care. To them, stealing an outstanding man was the only meaningful thing. And didn't having a beautiful girlfriend mean that the other party was outstanding? There was no better prey than this. Look, there's someone coming over there. Suddenly, Zhu Erqin shouted. She noticed that in the distance, there seemed to be 5 or 6 figures appearing, running towards them in a panic. And behind these figures, there seemed to be 2 criminals chasing after them. They were armed with guns, and from time to time, explosions could be heard. It's Chu Rong. Jiang Yaru's eyes were very sharp. He immediately recognized these figures. One of them was shockingly Chu Rong. Crap, they seem to be also being chased by those criminals. The others' expressions changed. Clearly, they also thought that perhaps they weren't the only ones being chased by those criminals. Even the people from other schools might fall into the same predicament. But those students might not be as strong as Xiaoping. It was very likely that some of them would die at the hands of these criminals or be captured alive, falling into a desperate situation. I'll go save them. Chapter 94. In the forest, a few girls were nimble and agile. They were running around the surrounding trees, dodging the attacks of the criminals. Their faces were filled with panic, and some of them were even injured. Damn it! Chu Rong clenched her teeth. She was carrying an injured girl on her back. Just now, the girl had been accidentally hit by a laser, injuring her left leg. Blood flowed out, and she basically couldn't move anymore. If she abandoned this girl, she could obviously escape from these criminals and escape without a trace. But with her personality, how could she do something like watch someone die? Didn't they say this was an uninhabited island with only wild beasts? Just where did these criminals come from? Chu Rong was very unwilling. She could understand why this had happened. That was because just as she was leading a few of her companions out to hunt wild beasts, single-mindedly focused on defeating Jiang Yaru, 3 or 4 armed bandits suddenly rushed out. They were extremely vicious and merciless. They killed 2 male students in one go, shocking everyone. Although she also used her tyrannical martial arts to kill one of them, she was outnumbered. Moreover, the enemies had weapons, so she could only run into the depths of the forest. Xiaorong, we can't go on anymore. We've been running for half a day already. We're out of energy. A girl beside her was pale. Her forehead was covered in sweat, and she was panting. Clearly, she was exhausted. The other companions were the same. After all, they didn't have Chu Rong's stamina to run for a day and a night without a problem. This was a talent. Don't relax, Chu Rong roared. Can't you see that those criminals are right behind us? Once we're caught, can you imagine what will happen to us? Grit your teeth and endure to the end. She reprimanded her companions. But we're really out of energy. The girl clenched her teeth. They also wanted to endure, but sometimes willpower and physical strength weren't on the same level. Being chased like this, their nerves were stretched taut. They almost couldn't bear it anymore. After all, they were just students a day ago. When had they ever encountered such a desperate pursuit? Suddenly, A girl accidentally tripped over a rock and fell to the ground on the spot. Her face was bruised and swollen, and even her knees were bleeding. Xiaolan! Everyone cried out in alarm. They didn't think that in such a fast escape, there would be someone left behind. This was big trouble. Don't worry about me. Just run on your own. The girl gritted her teeth. She did not want to implicate her companions. At this time, the 2 or 3 criminals behind also rushed up. When they saw someone lying on the ground, their eyes immediately lit up. Ha! The little girl finally can't run away. One of the thugs smiled sinisterly. We've been chasing you for so long. You guys are really good at running. I'll let you guys have a taste of what it's like to be a man. His tone was sinister and vicious, making people shudder. When the girls heard this, their faces immediately turned pale. In the battle, don't waste time. Another gangster said in a low voice, I heard the news that Brother Scar's team was completely annihilated. There's someone ruthless in this group of students. Boss told us to be careful. What's there to be afraid of? That Dao Ba must have been careless and fell into the trap of that group of students. That's why he ended up like this. As long as we are careful, how could this group of defenseless students be our match? The remaining gangster said disdainfully, but there's indeed someone ruthless in this group of girls. In a moment of carelessness, he actually killed one of our brothers. Later, I'll definitely teach this tigress a lesson and let her know how powerful men are. He stared at Chu Rong ferociously. Looking at her hot body, even his breathing became rapid. Damn it, let's fight it out with these guys. Chu Rong clenched her fists. She could not imagine what would happen to Xiaolan if she fell into the hands of this group of criminals. The other girls' faces were pale, and their legs were trembling in fear. Although Chu Rong's words were ruthless in reality, with their strength, they were not a match at all. If they could match them, there was no need to escape. They could just kill them. Fight it out with us? With your lousy martial arts, do you think you can dodge our guns? A gangster laughed cruelly, not caring about Chu Rong's words at all. Swoosh! At this moment, there was a piercing sound that tore through the air. The gangster who spoke had his head pierced by a stone. With a bang, his head was smashed into pieces like a watermelon. Who is it? The remaining 2 gangsters were stunned. They did not know what had happened at all. They watched helplessly as one of their companions was killed and his head exploded. Whoosh whoosh. Another 2 stones shot out like black lightning. It was impossible to see their trajectory. With 2 poochie sounds, they pierced through the throats of the 2 gangsters. Blood burst out like a fountain. Ugh, ugh. The 2 gangsters subconsciously covered their throats. Their eyes were filled with fear and unwillingness. They seemed to want to say something, but their necks were leaking air, so they could not say anything. With a bang, the 2 of them fell to the ground. They were already dead. Chu Rong and the others were also stunned by this situation. The 3 fierce gangsters were killed in an instant without any ability to resist. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure appeared in front of the group of girls. Xiaoping. After seeing the figure clearly, Chu Rong could not help but cry out. She was very surprised because she could recognize Xiaoping even if he turned into ashes. The other girls also recognized Xiaoping's identity. After all, this was a famous person who caused trouble everywhere. How could they not know him? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this time, Jiang Yaru and the others also followed Xiaoping's footsteps and quickly arrived at the empty space. Jiang Yaru. Chu Rong also saw Jiang Yaru and the others. Immediately, the group of girls let out a sigh of relief. At this time, they felt a lot safer to meet one of their own. At least if they encountered those gangsters, they would have the ability to resist. Chu Rong, it's good that you guys are fine. Jiang Yaru looked at the 3 gangsters' corpses on the ground. She did not care at all. After experiencing these things, she had long since adapted. Humans were creatures with extremely high adaptability. Could it be that you guys saved me? Chu Rong immediately thought of this possibility. Jiang Yaru waved her hand. It wasn't us who saved you. It was this guy who saved you. She pointed at Xiaoping. This guy. Chu Rong bit her lips. Her heart was very complicated. This bastard seemed to be her husband in name and had even made a contract with her. She originally wanted to forget about this matter, but this guy appeared again and even saved her. Chapter 95. In a hidden cave somewhere. At this time, Xiaoping and the others left the crime scene and conveniently took away the guns, grenades, and other weapons from the criminals. After traveling for about 10 kilometers, they finally found a hidden cave. Thus, they temporarily rested in this place. After all, a few of them were injured and couldn't travel long distances for the time being. You said that you guys encountered a group of criminals, and they even killed a few students from 88 Middle School. There are even students from other middle schools who were captured by them. Jiang Yaru stared at Chu Rong and listened to her describe what happened. The other party's experience was even worse than theirs. Not only were some people injured, some were captured, and some even died. The girls from Righteous Middle School also sighed. Fortunately, they left with Xiaoping and the others. Otherwise, if they encountered these criminals, their fates wouldn't be much better than theirs. Yes. Chu Rong clenched her teeth. Those criminals simply kill without batting an eye. As soon as they encountered us, they immediately opened fire. They showed no mercy. We had to use all our strength to escape. But even so, a few of us were killed and most of us were captured. Only a few of us managed to escape. The faces of the girls from 88 Middle School were gloomy. Thinking back to what happened before, it was simply a nightmare. Not even in their dreams did they expect to encounter such danger. Fortunately, they encountered Xiaoping and the others. Otherwise, they would definitely have been captured by those criminals. We wanted to inform the teachers, but we found out that the information on our watches couldn't be sent out. They used a jammer to interfere with the signal within a radius of several hundred kilometers. Chu Rong clenched her fists. Because the information couldn't be sent out, they were simply like turtles in a jar. Moreover, they were unarmed and had no way of fighting against those criminals. If we want to deal with those criminals, there are only two ways, Jiang Yaru said in a low voice. The first is to quickly escape. As long as we leave the range of the jammer, we can inform the teachers and have them send people over to eliminate those criminals. That's impossible. A bespectacled girl from Righteous Middle School said in a low voice, I know how these jammers operate. Even the smallest one has a range of several hundred kilometers, let alone a larger one. The other party is the Cheetah Group, a criminal organization that has been famous for a long time. Who knows how many hunts and hunts they have dealt with? How could they use cheap goods? In other words, the range of the opponent's jammer has already covered the entire Beast Island. No matter where we escape to, we won't be able to escape from the opponent's signal interference. In fact, it was precisely because of this reason that she chose to leave with Xiaoping and the others, because she knew that Han Shan and the others would definitely fail. It was impossible for them to leave the range of the signal interference. Then there's only one way left. Jiang Yaru clenched his fists. That's to go to the place where the Cheetah Regiment is gathered and destroy the jammer. Once the jammer is destroyed, our signal will immediately return to normal. At that time, we can also inform teacher to come over. She suggested the second method. Everyone was silent. This was indeed a good idea, but it was also a stupid one. After all, the other party was a powerful criminal organization with many people and weapons. If they went to the enemy's headquarters, it would be no different from sending sheep into a tiger's mouth. It was simply courting death. Don't tell me that the teachers won't notice our abnormalities. Once the signal is jammed, there should be some abnormalities, a girl said. The bespectacled girl shook her head. You're underestimating the other party. Do you think they haven't thought of this? After all, they're a criminal organization. They have technical talents in this area. They didn't just turn on the signal jammer, they even turned on the signal simulator. In other words, if the teachers don't deliberately investigate, they won't notice at all. From the start of the incident until now, the teachers haven't reacted at all. It's obvious that the teachers haven't felt anything strange at all, nor have they discovered what happened on the island. The entire cavern was filled with an oppressive atmosphere. No one knew what to do. These words had completely shattered their confidence. In 3 days, the teachers will come back in the spaceship again. Chu Rong clenched her fists. When that time comes, those criminals will naturally flee at the sight of us, but can those students who have been captured last for 3 days? To be honest, with those vicious criminals' methods, let alone 3 days, It would be lucky if they could even last a day. Leave this matter to me, Xiao Ping suddenly said. What? Everyone was shocked. They couldn't help but turn to look at Xiao Ping. Leave it to you? Chu Rong said in shock. Xiao Ping nodded. Yes, I'll go to the headquarters alone and destroy the jammer. Have you gone crazy? Chu Rong felt that Xiao Ping had gone crazy. There are dozens of them, and they're all armed. I'm afraid that before you can even get close, you'll be shot into a beehive. Although Xiao Ping had just killed 2 or 3 gangsters and showed his extremely powerful skills, dealing with 3 gangsters and dealing with a group of gangsters was a different concept. I'm not going to court death. Xiao Ping smiled. I'm just going to give it a try. If it's impossible, of course I won't throw my life away. But if it's easy to destroy, I won't hesitate either. He wasn't the kind of person who would sacrifice himself for others. If things didn't work out, he would naturally run away. Moreover, he also felt that it was strange. Why would these criminals suddenly appear on this desolate and uninhabited island? There must be some unspeakable secret here. He wanted to go and investigate. Perhaps he could gain some benefits from it. Of course, he wouldn't tell anyone about these thoughts. If these women followed him, things would become very troublesome. He might as well act alone. But do you know where the scoundrels are? Beast Island is so big. It won't be easy to find the enemy's lair. Jiang Yaru also knew that this guy was greedy for life and afraid of death. He was definitely not a hero. If he didn't have the confidence, he definitely wouldn't make a move. Moreover, based on the terrifying strength he had displayed before, even if he couldn't destroy the jammer, he should be able to survive in the hands of so many criminals. This shouldn't be a problem. Finding their whereabouts is a piece of cake. Xiao Ping indicated that this wasn't a problem at all. The 10,000-mile tracking technique he had learned was a supreme secret technique for tracking enemies. Finding the enemy's lair was a piece of cake. In short, take these weapons with you. If any criminals come, you can shoot them down. There shouldn't be any problems in terms of safety for now. Xiao Ping pointed at the weapons he had obtained from the criminals. With that, he turned around and left. Sigh. Chapter 96. In the center of Beast Island, on the top of a mountain peak. At this time, most of the members of the Cheetah Regiment gathered together, densely packed, at least 20 people, each with a gun on their body, exuding a terrible evil spirit. In this place, there were 20 or 30 students who were also captured. Their hands and feet were tied up, unable to move, and they were very embarrassed. Some of them were beaten black and blue, with blood flowing out of their faces. Among them were Han Shan and others from Zhengda High School. They originally wanted to leave the range of the jammer, but they didn't expect to be caught by those gangsters when they walked half the distance. As a result, they were tied up and brought to this place, and they were even tortured on the way. Not to mention how miserable these people were. They were all from wealthy families, and they had never encountered such treatment. It's over, we're completely finished. I wanted to escape, but I didn't expect to fall into the hands of these gangsters. If I had known earlier, I would have followed Xiao Ping and the others. Otherwise, how could such a thing happen? A group of students regretted that their intestines were green. They originally wanted to escape from the clutches of those gangsters, but they found that it was impossible at all. The entire island is now the territory of this Cheetah Regiment. How can they escape? But by the time they understood this matter, it was already too late. Damn it! Han Shan's face was also ashen, and his heart regretted it to the extreme. He was the #1 master of Zhengda High School, a powerhouse of the 8th heavenly layer, but he was beaten like a dead dog by these gangsters. How tragic. If this continues, I'm afraid he will really die in the hands of these gangsters. Those vicious people don't care about his little Han Shan's life. He was also very regretful in his heart. If he could follow Xiao Ping, maybe he wouldn't encounter this kind of thing, but now it's too late to say anything. He can only pray that someone will come to save him. Didn't you find the murderer who killed Dao Ba and the others? Lin Bao stared at these students, full of murderous intent. It was because of some of these students that their Cheetah Regiment suffered heavy losses this time, and many people died. I didn't find it, a man said in a deep voice. But after our torture, we found a person who is very likely to be the murderer, seems to be called Xiao Ping. According to their confessions, so many of our brothers died because of this Xiao Ping. His teeth revealed a deep murderous intent. Xiaoping. Lin Bao gritted his teeth, as if he wanted to carve this name deeply into his mind. It was this student who had caused the deaths of so many members of his cheetah group. It was hard for him not to remember him. Can't find the kid's whereabouts? He stared at his subordinate. The subordinate shook his head. I've interrogated these students a few times, but none of them know where Xiaoping is. It seems that he has already parted ways with them. However, some people said that Xiaoping did not escape, but planned to hunt us. Hearing this, Lin Bao clenched his fists and was instantly enraged. How dare you? A student who's not even worth a fart dares to boast so shamelessly? You want to hunt us? He's the hunter and we're the prey. He was infuriated to the extreme. He had never seen such an arrogant and egotistical student. Not only was he not afraid of these violent and cruel bandits, but he even planned to kill them. One had to know that even the elite police officers were trembling in fear when they found out that the cheetah squad had arrived. How dare a mere student be so arrogant? Boss, we've arranged quite a few people in the vicinity. The subordinate sneered. As long as that kid dares to appear, we'll immediately take action and end his life to avenge our brothers. His body emitted a terrifying, murderous aura, and it was obvious that he was truly enraged. To actually be hunted down by a mere student, their cheetah squad could be considered to have been thoroughly looked down upon. Immediately inform me when you find the kid's whereabouts. I want to personally take his head. Lin Bao coldly snorted. He had never wanted to kill a person so much, and this Xiaoping was the first. Yes, boss. The subordinate immediately shouted. At this moment, a man walked up and said, Boss, everything is ready. The scarlet blood fruit will ripen in half an hour. We can make our move then. Half an hour? Hearing this, Lin Bao clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes revealed a fiery glow. He had waited for a few days, and finally, the day when the scarlet blood fruit ripened had arrived. If he could obtain this scarlet blood fruit, advancing to the martial warrior realm would be within his reach. At that time, no matter how big the world was, he could go anywhere. Very well, we'll head over immediately. Thinking of this, Lin Bao said in a low voice, we must ensure that there are no mistakes. We must obtain that scarlet blood fruit. If anyone dares to make a mistake, I'll take his life. Many of his subordinates shivered, not daring to be careless. They immediately replied, Yes. Let's go. Lin Bao waved his hand and immediately went up to the top of the mountain. He stared at the huge tree in the valley ahead. There were 3 bright red fruits growing on it, and a strange fragrance filled the entire valley. It was the scarlet blood fruit. Instantly, not only Lin Bao, but the other members of the cheetah squad also revealed looks of greed. At this moment, on a nameless small mountain 2 to 3 kilometers away, a figure quietly appeared at the top of this small mountain. However, no one from the cheetah squad noticed this person. This person was Xiaoping. He followed the aura of these bandits and finally arrived at the center of the Beast Island. He arrived at the place where the cheetah squad and the others were gathered and also discovered this strange valley. It can't be, this is the scarlet blood fruit. Seeing the 3 strange red fruits growing on the top of the towering tree, Xiaoping immediately knew that these fruits were the legendary scarlet blood fruit, because there were all kinds of rare treasures between heaven and earth. In fact, they were learned in high school natural geography. It introduced all kinds of unique fruits that grew on Yin Huang Star, which were of great benefit to martial artists. However, these heaven and earth exotic fruits were only heard of and not seen. They were expensive, and most people could only look at them without any chance to obtain them. Oh, there are actually 3 scarlet blood fruits here. No wonder this group of people from the cheetah squad would appear on the Beast Island. So it turned out to be for this heaven and earth exotic fruit. Xiaoping finally understood why this group of bandits would appear on this desolate and uninhabited island for no reason. It turned out to be for this extremely precious heaven and earth exotic fruit. He knew that this scarlet blood fruit was said to be watered with the blood of countless beasts, accumulating for 100 years before it could grow. Its value was amazing, and one was worth 50 million federal coins. If it was taken to an auction, It was extremely normal for each to be sold for 100 million federal coins. 3 of these scarlet blood fruits were equivalent to 300 million federal coins. The value was amazing. Ordinary people would kill for 1 million federal coins. If it was for 300 million, then there would probably be people who would slaughter a village. Xiaoping clenched his fists, and his eyes revealed a glimmer of light. Chapter 97. Boom! As the scarlet blood fruit was about to ripen, an overwhelming number of ferocious beasts surged out from the surroundings of the valley. One after another, ferocious beasts with terrifying strength appeared in the surroundings of the valley. There were forest wolves, ferocious tigers, cheetahs, black bears, and so on. There were many of them, and every single one of them was extremely powerful. Their bodies emitted a violent aura that caused people to tremble. There were even ferocious birds flying in the sky, circling in the air from time to time. Such a number simply covered the sky, forming a large patch of dark clouds. These ferocious beasts were all staring at the 3 scarlet blood fruits on the big tree in the valley. They could not suppress the desire in their hearts. To them, these 3 scarlet blood fruits were also an opportunity for evolution. Once they ate one of the scarlet blood fruits, they would definitely become even more powerful. Beast Tide, this is a beast tide. Although Han Shan and the others were tied up on the mountain peak, they could still see the ferocious beasts that covered the entire valley. All of their hearts trembled, and they felt fear. They had once read about the beast tide that appeared hundreds of years ago in history books. Those tyrannical beasts were innumerable. They covered the sky and covered the earth, destroying human cities one after another. Although the ferocious beasts here could not compare to the glorious battles in history books, just based on the aura alone, it was probably not much different from the scenes in history books. If they were not tied up by the bandits, they would have long fled in fright. How would they still dare to stay in this place? There's still a little more time. They're about to ripen. The forest leopard stared fixedly at the big tree in the valley. It was not the slightest bit shaken by the huge number of ferocious beasts around it, as if it was not a big deal at all. Rumble, right at this moment, the 3 scarlet blood fruits burst out with a scorching light, as if they were small suns. Strange patterns appeared on the surface, and a rich fragrance spread throughout the entire valley. When the creatures present smelled this fragrance, their spirits were greatly lifted. It was as if every single cell in their body was greedily absorbing it, as if just a trace of the fragrance would allow their cultivation to improve. Everyone was shocked. Just the fragrance alone was already so terrifying. If they were to eat the entire scarlet blood fruit, it would be amazing. No wonder it was worth 50 million federal coins. A heaven and earth exotic fruit like this was equivalent to a luxurious villa. Roar! Many ferocious beasts roared. When the light from the 3 scarlet blood fruits reached its peak and the fragrance reached its peak, even the air was filled with mist covering the surroundings. Those ferocious beasts could no longer be controlled, because the scarlet blood fruit had ripened. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The ferocious beasts madly charged forward, wantonly trampling the surrounding ferocious beasts. They fought and killed each other without a care for anything else. Like a tide, they wanted to snatch away the 3 scarlet blood fruits. Do it! Lin Bao gave the order. They had been preparing for a long time and had set up a large number of bombs around the valley a few days in advance. Once they were activated, the power would be earth-shattering. One of the henchmen smiled sinisterly, took out a red remote control on his body, and pressed it hard. Boom! All of a sudden, terrifying explosions rang out from all around the valley. The mountains shook and the earth shook as if there was a magnitude 7 or 8 earthquake. Even the mountain peaks were on the verge of collapsing. A huge black mushroom cloud floated into the sky, and a terrifying explosion swept out in all directions. Those ferocious beasts that tried to rush over to snatch the scarlet blood fruits were instantly blown up. In an instant, countless broken limbs and corpses appeared around the valley. One ferocious beast after another was blown up into pieces. Fresh blood splattered everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. All the ferocious beasts within a kilometer radius were blown up. Not a single one was left alive. The huge impact swept out, and huge craters appeared on the ground. Soil flew everywhere, and rocks collapsed. All the ferocious beasts that dared to approach the scarlet bloodfruits were all killed. Shoot down those flying beasts. Lin Bao gave the second order. The 20 or so members of the cheetah regiment who had long been prepared immediately took out their laser guns and spread them out in different positions, firing wildly at the sky. All of a sudden, a terrifying web of death appeared in the sky, covering the surroundings. Those flying beasts were caught off guard, and they were completely unable to defend against such laser guns. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the flying beasts cried out in pain. Their bodies were pierced by the laser beams, and blood spurted out. They were like dumplings being thrown into a pot, and they fell from the sky one by one. That's amazing. Han Shan and the others were dumbfounded. This was the first time they had seen the strength of this group of criminals. Their weapons were excellent, and when they went all out, even if a martial warrior wanted to rush over, he would probably be killed by such a tyrannical explosion. One could imagine that if these bandits did not want to capture them alive, they would probably have been killed by these bandits. In just a few minutes, the ferocious beasts around the valley were wiped out by such fierce firepower. Some of the ferocious beasts wanted to come over, but when they saw the death of their companions, they did not dare to go forward and retreated. All of a sudden, the ferocious beasts around the valley disappeared completely, and no one dared to go up to snatch the fruits. Ha ha, it's just a group of ferocious beasts. How can they resist the power of technology? A bandit laughed out loud. Just the bombs alone are enough to send all of you to heaven. If it was a head-on confrontation, they would definitely be torn to pieces by this group of ferocious beasts. However, by setting up a bomb trap, they could easily kill this group of ferocious beasts. The scarlet blood fruit belongs to me now. Lin Bao clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes revealed a trace of burning light. He looked at the center of the valley, and the 3 scarlet blood fruits were still hanging on the tree, unharmed. However, they emitted waves of scarlet light, and contained a huge amount of energy that made people drool. At this moment, there was nothing that could stop him from obtaining the scarlet blood fruits. Shio, shio, shio. Suddenly, a stone flew over from afar, cutting through the air and tearing everything apart. With a bang, the tree branch broke and was sliced into pieces by this stone, unable to withstand it. In an instant, the 3 scarlet blood fruits that were originally hanging on the tree immediately fell. What? Lin Bao and the others were shocked and furious. Who exactly was it that dared to make a move at this moment? However, before the 3 scarlet blood fruits fell to the ground, another stone the size of a disc flew over, and with incomparable precision, it just happened to catch the 3 scarlet blood fruits. It spun crazily in the air like a spinning dart and produced a strong spinning force. After rushing to a certain extent, it actually returned to its original position. In a few breaths, this disc-like stone carried the 3 scarlet blood fruits and flew to the top of a small mountain nearby. It can't be, can it? Chapter 98. Damn it! Lin Bao was unable to restrain his anger. Who was it? Who did it? Who stole my scarlet blood fruits? Are you King courting death? Let me ask you, are you courting death? Lin Bao's anger had reached its peak. It was as if there were hundreds of volcanoes erupting in his heart. His face was flushed red, and even his head was emitting smoke. One could imagine how angry he was. In order to obtain these 3 scarlet blood fruits, he exhausted all his wealth and spent a huge sum of money to purchase a large number of weapons. He gathered countless brothers and came to the Beast Island. He did not know how much he had to pay. Now that he had spent all his money, the bombs were all gone, and more than half of his companions were dead, but someone actually dared to steal the scarlet blood fruits in front of him. If this wasn't making him fight with his life on the line, what else could it be? Bang! At this moment, a figure appeared on top of the small mountain. With a grab of his hand, he immediately grabbed the circular rock. Nailhead 7 arrows techniques, second form, death spiral. With a bang, the circular rock shattered, and the 3 scarlet blood fruits fell into his hands. It's Xiaoping. Han Shan and the others had sharp eyes like eagles. They immediately saw the figure on top of the small mountain. It was actually Xiaoping. Even if this guy turned into ashes, they would still recognize him. It can't be. The scarlet blood fruits were actually obtained by Xiaoping. This is too big of a joke. The eyes of the captured students turned green. They were extremely jealous, and their mentality was completely out of balance. They were so pitiful, captured by this group of bandits, tortured, and could not even protect themselves. But this brat, not only was nothing happened to him, he even snatched away the scarlet blood fruit in front of these bandits, obtaining great benefits. This kind of contrast was something they could not accept. The 3 scarlet blood fruits are finally in my hands. Xiaoping smiled faintly. He aimed for the right moment and made his move, using the second form of the nailhead 7 arrows technique's death spiral. This move used a unique technique to make the hidden weapon spin in the air, tearing the surrounding enemies apart. It was a group attack, but it could also bring the scarlet blood fruits back to where they came from. Sure enough, this move of his really succeeded. Even from 2 kilometers away, Xiaoping could easily control his hidden weapons and obtain the scarlet blood fruit. There was no need for him to go to the center of the valley, and no one could have imagined this move. The members of the cheetah group were also dumbfounded. After all, they couldn't imagine that there was such a terrifying hidden weapon cultivation method in this world. It was simply beyond their imagination. He's Xiaoping. Hearing the words of Han Shan and the others, Lin Bao was both shocked and furious. Old hatred and new hatred surged up in his heart. It was this damned bastard who had killed so many of his subordinates, causing him to lose more than half of his elite forces. Now, he actually wanted to snatch his scarlet blood fruit. This was as if he had snatched away all of his wealth, and he still wanted to seduce his beautiful wife. No one could stand this kind of thing. Kill him. Kill him immediately. Lin Bao was unable to restrain his anger and roared with all his might. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, more than a dozen ace shooters aimed at Xiaoping and fired wildly at the mountain peak. Beams of lasers traversed several kilometers, forming a light screen of death that tore everything apart. There were even a few people holding rocket launchers and firing at the mountain peak, attacking indiscriminately. This kind of artillery shell was extremely terrifying. If one fell, everything within a radius of several hundred meters would be blown to ashes. Bang, bang, bang. In just a breath's time, the mountain peak was attacked by extremely terrifying artillery fire. The mountain peak was razed to the ground, and even the small mountain peak felt like it was going to collapse. One could imagine how fierce the artillery fire was. Even a martial artist would not be able to survive under such artillery fire. However, Xiaoping had already expected that the other party would fly into a rage. Without waiting for Lin Bao to give the order, he jumped down from the mountain peak and fled into the distance. He did not waste any time at all. Therefore, this coverage attack could not do anything to him at all. It only blasted an empty space. Chase after him immediately. I must kill this bastard and tear him into pieces. Lin Bao was extremely furious. He gave the order for his subordinates to attack with all their strength. No matter what, he could not let the cooked duck escape. The 3 scarlet blood fruits must not fall into the hands of that bastard, or he would really go bankrupt. Want to catch up to me? Xiaoping glanced sideways at the bandits who were chasing after him crazily. His heart was not moved at all. Crane fist flying, crane soaring. In an instant, his whole body turned into a flying crane. He controlled the airflow and was extremely fast. In an instant, he disappeared into the forest. The bandits were immediately shocked, and their faces were extremely ugly, because they knew that it was too difficult to catch up to Xiaoping now. There was a distance of 2 to 3 kilometers between them, and Xiaoping was so fast that he was like a flying crane. Unless these people had wings, they would not be able to catch up at all. In just a few minutes, Xiaoping's figure disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Like a drop of sand in the desert, they could not find him no matter how hard they tried. Damn, this Xiaoping really slipped away. He did not even care about us. Not to mention caring about him. Even looking at him seems to be a waste of energy. This is too hateful. In any case, we are all from Tianshui City. Although we all have hatred, we can't do this. Shameless, this bastard is simply eating human blood. If I die, I will not let him go even if I become a ghost. The faces of Han Shan and the others turned green. Seeing Xiaoping leave unscathed, they were extremely angry. Although they also knew that Xiaoping had no obligation to save them. Seeing this bastard obtain such a huge benefit and leave unscathed, they were still unconvinced and very unwilling. Why could this kid have such a good life with girls by his side? After obtaining the treasure, they were captured and tortured by the bandits. This was too unfair. Damn it, this is too despicable. Seeing Xiaoping's figure disappear, Lin Bao was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Both his eyes were bloodshot. He could not accept this reality. The scarlet blood fruit slipped away before his eyes. Xiaoping, don't think that you can escape like this. Lin Bao looked up to the sky and roared, I will definitely find you. As long as you are on the Beast Island, you will definitely not be able to escape. At that time, I will definitely tear your body into pieces and make you wish you were dead. His long roar contained a terrifying hatred. Many of the cheetah group's eyes were also bloodshot. They would definitely not forgive this bastard. At this time, Xiaoping immediately left more than 10 kilometers and ran desperately. The system's voice also came in time. Congratulations to the host. Someone has developed an endless hatred towards the host. Hatred value plus 1,000. Hatred value plus 1,000. Chapter 99. System. How many aggro points do I have now? Xiaoping asked. Although he had spent a lot of aggro points before, he had gained a lot after coming to Beast Island. Overall, it should have increased a lot. Host, you now have a total of 12,350 aggro points. The system replied. Xiaoping rubbed his chin. He didn't expect his aggro points to exceed 10,000, but most of the aggro points should be contributed by those bandits. This kind of endless aggro is generally very difficult to generate. This time, I didn't expect to get so much aggro points. Xiaoping smiled slightly, but although these aggro points were a lot, if he really spent them, they would disappear in the blink of an eye. Forget it. Let's go back to the cave first. With these red blood fruits, it will be easy for me to break through to the 8th heavenly layer. When the time comes, I'll settle the score with those bandits. With a swoosh, Xiaoping quickly moved forward, setting up some traps along the way to prevent those bandits from tracking him. After a few laps, he returned to the cave. And at this time, the sky was already dark. Xiaoping, hearing the voice outside the cave, Jiang Yaru and the others immediately became vigilant. But they soon found that the person who came back was Xiaoping, and were immediately surprised. Xiaoping, are you okay? Did you suffer any injuries? How are those bandits? Did they hurt you? You haven't come back for so long. We thought something big happened to you. Fortunately, you came back in time. A group of women chattered, looking at Xiaoping very worriedly. I'm fine. I just went to investigate. I didn't fight with those bandits. Xiaoping waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. But the harvest this time is very big. I found that there are about 23 bandits, at least above the 8th heavenly layer. And they have a lot of excellent weapons, rocket launchers, mortars, grenades, laser guns, and so on. Their firepower is fierce, and ordinary martial artists can only be annihilated if they approach. All the women were shocked. They also knew that these bandits were not simple, but hearing Xiaoping say this, they really realized how powerful these bandits were. With so many weapons, even if a martial artist came, they would dare to fight. What about the jammer? Did you find where they put their jammers? Jiang Yaru asked. Xiaoping thought for a moment and said, It's on their boss. It seems that these bandits are very cautious and know the importance of the jammer, so the boss carries it with him all the time. No one can touch it. And the bandit boss's cultivation base is also extremely powerful. He is a martial artist at the peak of the 9th heaven. He has been through hundreds of battles and has the instinct of a beast. He is not so easy to deal with. Although it was just a glimpse, he noticed that the aura of the leader of the cheetah squad was not simple. At the same time, he also noticed that there was a jammer hanging on his waist. The eyes of all the women flickered. If the interference device was with the boss, it would be even more difficult to succeed. After all, if they wanted to kill the boss, they would have to fight all the bandits. Where are the students? Did you notice that some students were captured there? Chu Rong was concerned about this. Xiaoping nodded. There were indeed some students who were captured by the bandits and treated as captives. They seemed to have been tortured, but the situation was too dangerous, so I didn't care and could only come back first. Chu Rong and the others were silent. Their hearts sank. Sure enough, there were many students who were captured. They didn't know how long they could hold out and whether they could wait for the teachers to return to Beast Island. But it was not very realistic for them to rescue them. Those bandits were too powerful. If they went up, they would not be saving people, but throwing away their lives. This kind of thing was not worth the loss. However, Xiaoping ignored the thoughts of these people and said directly, "Because of today's battle, I have benefited a lot. I have occasionally had some enlightenment. I think I may be able to break through today. So, I'm going to go into seclusion for the night." After saying that, he turned and walked towards the depths of the cave. This cave was very deep, and there were small caves inside that could be used as a quiet room for temporary seclusion without being disturbed. What? He's about to break through? Hearing this, Jiang Yaru was stunned. She knew that this bastard Xiaoping had just advanced to the seventh heaven, but now he wanted to break through again. Did he want to break through to the eighth heaven? God knows how much effort she had spent to advance to the seventh heaven, but this kid was good. Breaking through was as simple as eating and drinking. Occasionally having an epiphany, he's about to break through. The corner of Chu Rong's mouth couldn't help but twitch. Although she was not as familiar with Xiaoping as Jiang Yaru, she was also stunned by Xiaoping's breakthrough. When he fought with her before, he had just broken through to the seventh heaven, but not long after, he was about to break through to the eighth heaven and was about to surpass her. Even if she exhausted her imagination, she couldn't imagine such a thing. Amazing, as expected of Xiaoping. He can break through with just a little insight. If this is not a genius, what is a genius? A character like Han Shan is not even worthy of carrying his shoes. The gap is too big. You can't say that. Han Shan is also a genius, but Xiaoping is a monster. He's completely different. Just the seventh heaven is so powerful, sweeping away a group of bandits. If he is promoted to the eighth heaven, how can those bandits be his opponent? A group of girls discussed excitedly. They didn't think as much as Jiang Yaru and Chu Rong. In this situation, the stronger Xiaoping was the better. The bandits would not dare to be arrogant anymore. At this time, Xiaoping entered the depths of the cave and found a secret space. Then he sat down cross-legged and took out 3 scarlet blood fruits from his clothes. These 3 heaven and earth strange fruits, even the dark space, still emitted a scarlet light, shining brightly, emitting a strange fragrance, making people feel refreshed. With a snap, Xiaoping immediately ate these 3 scarlet blood fruits. When the scarlet blood fruits entered his mouth, they immediately turned into a ball of liquid, melted in his mouth, poured into his throat, and entered his limbs and hundreds of meridians. Boom! Suddenly, the majestic energy contained in the 3 scarlet blood fruits exploded in his body, like a warm current, surging around his meridians. The true qi in his body increased crazily, and every cell in his body greedily absorbed this energy. At the same time, his body turned red, emitting bursts of water vapor, as if his body was in magma, and even the surrounding air was emitting a scorching temperature. It's time to break through. Xiaoping's eyes revealed a glimmer of light, and he operated the pure, yang, immortal art, quickly refining this majestic energy, breaking through the 8th meridian. With a bang, true qi surged like the sea, breaking through the 8th meridian in an instant. Chapter 100. The next morning, the sky was just beginning to brighten. Xiaoping opened his eyes and exhaled a breath of air. It immediately condensed into a solid form, like a white chain. With a bang, this breath of white air was like a sharp arrow, instantly piercing a large hole in the mountain wall. It was just a breath, and it showed tyrannical power. Amazing, worthy of being a red blood fruit. The effect is too amazing. After meditating for a night, constantly digesting and absorbing the energy of the 3 red blood fruits, Xiaoping felt that the benefits of his life were too great. Even if he had broken through to the 8th heavenly layer, the medicinal power of the 3 red blood fruits still did not disappear. Instead, it settled everywhere in his body, waiting for him to open it again. If he could digest these energies, even if he broke through to the peak of the 9th heavenly layer, it would not be a problem. Pa pa pa. At this time, Xiaoping stood up. The bones of his whole body crackled, and the golden drums rang together, as if containing the thunder of tigers and leopards, showing a tyrannical and unparalleled power. After being promoted to the 8th heavenly layer, not only has the true qi in his body greatly increased, but even his physique has been frantically tempered by the true qi, and his strength has also increased a lot. He estimated that the power of his punch was at least 20,000 jin of strength, far above the ordinary 9th heavenly layer powerhouse, and one punch was enough to beat a monster into meat sauce. Not only strength, but also spiritual force has increased a lot. Xiaoping closed his eyes, and he felt that his Baihui acupoint seemed to have been tempered because of the breakthrough of his cultivation base. His spiritual force spread out, and the spread of 1 meter by 1 meter had far exceeded the previous distance, and even reached a distance of 100 meters. In this range, he knew clearly any movement in the wind and grass. It was estimated that even the powerhouse who had just been promoted to the martial artist realm was inferior to him in terms of spiritual force alone. Let's try my current strength. Xiaoping's heart moved, and he left the quiet room and walked towards the outside of the cave. At this time, he came to the cave, but found that many women were lying on the ground sleeping. Moreover, their sleeping posture was very indecent, and they were all lying around. Perhaps it was because there were women around, but the women didn't care very much. Their clothes were torn open, revealing most of their white and tender skin. Especially those legs, that chest, it looked extremely seductive. What a spring! Light, bright, charming. Picture. I didn't expect there to be such benefits. It's good to train outside. Xiaoping rubbed his chin, admiring the scenery. He was in a good mood. He felt that his spiritual power seemed to have increased a little at this moment. At this moment, the girls seemed to have heard the footsteps as well. One by one, they woke up and looked at Xiaoping with sleepy eyes. Xiaoping, have you finished your seclusion? Jiang Yar yawned and stretched, revealing her beautiful figure. This kind of figure was enough to make countless men go crazy. She was a little drowsy from sleep. It's over, Xiaoping said with a smile, looking her up and down. Your clothes are very good. Your taste is not bad. But I think lace underwear is better. It's transparent and more charming. Of course, I also like your pattern underwear. It looks very cute. He also secretly sighed in admiration, as expected of a beauty that reigned above countless women in 95th High School, causing countless little boys to go crazy. With such beauty and such a figure, it was definitely not for show. Don't think that praising me will give you any benefits. Hearing the first half of Xiaoping's sentence, Jiang Yaru was in a good mood. She snorted a few times, thinking that this guy was trying to flatter her. But when she heard the second half, her expression changed. That's not right. How did this bastard know that her underwear had patterns? Subconsciously, she looked down at her lower body. Immediately, she discovered her current situation. She didn't know when her pants had been taken off by the girls next to her. Most of her long legs were exposed. Jiang Yaru let out an earth-shattering scream. Her face instantly turned as red as a tomato. Her hands frantically covered her lower body, as if trying to stop her. But no matter how she tried to stop it, there was a risk that this bastard Xiaoping would take advantage of her. What's wrong? Is there an enemy attack? Hearing this scream, Chu Rong was also woken up. She subconsciously jumped up and looked around cautiously. But no matter how she looked, she couldn't find any enemies. But she quickly discovered that Xiaoping, who was standing in front of her, was stunned. She also remembered that Xiaoping had been in seclusion last night. You should have come out today. Chu Rong, what are you doing? Hurry up and put on your clothes. Don't let this bastard take advantage of you. Jiang Yar's face was completely red. She immediately grabbed Chu Rong because this silly girl had also taken off most of her clothes. Chu Rong's face turned red, and she also screamed. She was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. She didn't know what to do. Ever since the martial arts competition, she had once again encountered such a shameful thing. And it was in front of this shameless man. She frantically picked up her clothes from the ground. What's with all the noise? Don't you know it's still early in the morning? I still want to get my beauty sleep. That's right. Don't you know that fatigue is the natural enemy of beauty? Go learn some beauty knowledge. Hurry up and get up. There's a man here. We've lost big time. Everything's been seen. Hee hee, so it's Xiaoping. If it's this man, it's fine to take a look. That's right, that's right. If it's Xiaoping, there's no problem at all. I'm even willing to roll in the sheets. Shameless woman, be a bit more reserved. Don't do it so early in the morning. The group of women were in a frenzy. Their faces were completely red as they hurriedly put on their clothes. There were also some women who were throwing flirtatious glances at Xiaoping. They didn't seem to care about this kind of thing at all. But these women were also being suppressed by the other women. They threw their clothes over to cover their bodies. Get out, shameless man. Get out of here immediately. Jiang Yaru and Chu Rong were half dead with anger. Their faces were completely red. They picked up their clothes and threw them at Xiaoping, telling this bastard to get out of the cave. If they allowed this shameless man to continue staying here, who knew what would happen? Perhaps he would become beastly and attack women like them who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Don't be fooled by this bastard's usual serious appearance. When he wasn't serious, he probably wasn't human. What's the point? We're already old couples. This is something that will happen sooner or later. Xiaoping didn't think it was a big problem to take a look. In any case, he wouldn't lose a piece of flesh. Soon my ass. Get out of here immediately. Jiang Yara flew into a rage. She picked up a millstone-sized rock and threw it at him. Whoosh! Xiaoping's figure flashed, easily dodging the rock. With a bang, the rock smashed into the ground and shattered into pieces. It caused the ground to shake and dust to billow everywhere. Chapter 101. Leaving the cave, Xiaoping casually found an open space nearby. Let's see to what extent my physical strength has reached. Xiaoping stood on the open space and squeezed his fist casually. His muscles vibrated, and it seemed that the air was crackling, as if even the air was squeezed by his fists. With a bang, he punched toward the distance, and it actually produced an explosion. The strength of his whole body was vibrating, producing an explosive airflow like the roar of thunder. My strength has indeed reached the level of more than 20,000 kilograms. Xiaoping's eyes showed a glimmer of light. He felt that all his muscles were like steel, and every inch of them was full of explosive power. Even if his internal organs were extremely powerful, a little exhalation would be a strong wind, and a light punch could penetrate a wall, and nothing could stop it. Let's try practicing 5 forms fist. Xiaoping's figure flashed, and his whole person moved as he pleased. His spiritual force had greatly increased, and it seemed that his control over his own strength had also become a lot stronger. This feeling was as if spiritual force penetrated into every cell, allowing him to manipulate it at will. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, he began to practice 5 forms fist, tiger fist, leopard fist, dragon fist, crane fist, snake fist, and so on. The wonderful footwork was displayed, and at the same time, countless fists were blasted out in the void. In the air, there seemed to be phantoms of tigers, cheetahs, dragons, white cranes, poisonous snakes, and so on, roaring in the void, exuding a fierce momentum, and there was a burst of explosions in the air. Now the power of a casual punch is more than double that of before, extremely tyrannical. Even if 5 forms fist is only a basic fist technique, but it has reached the realm of perfection, coupled with Xiaoping's strength of the 8th heavenly layer, it is enough to tear monsters and shake the earth. Ooh. When Xiaoping finished practicing 5 forms fist, the open space was already a mess. Broken limbs and bones were everywhere. There were holes in the ground, and the surrounding rocks were shattered into pieces. It was as if they had been subjected to fierce gunfire. Ravaged, it was extremely terrifying. Sure enough, the 9 heavenly layers of martial artists are stronger than the previous one, and the later it is, the greater the gap, and of course, it is more difficult to break through. Xiaoping sighed. Although the difference between the 7th heavenly layer and the 8th heavenly layer was only one realm, the strength difference was a lot, even greater than the gap between the 6th heavenly layer and the 7th heavenly layer. Even if you reach the martial disciple 9 heavens and connect 9 meridians, 9 return to 1, through 100 meridians and integrate them into 1, your strength will change even more terrifying, and the amount of true chi will increase geometrically. However, it is even more difficult to break through. Some people spend more than 10 years and may not be able to promote from the 8th heavenly layer to the 9th heavenly layer, and they're stuck in this realm. However, I have consumed 3 scarlet blood fruits, and my body has obtained a huge amount of energy. It has saved me a lot of effort in accumulating true chi, and I don't need to slowly absorb the spiritual chi of the world. Xiaoping squeezed his fist. As long as I can completely refine the energy of the scarlet blood fruit in my body, then I will be promoted to the martial disciple 9th heavenly layer. This was the benefit of a mysterious treasure of heaven and earth. Obtaining one was enough to save an ordinary martial arts expert more than 10 years of effort. This was also why so many martial artists desired to obtain one. Xiaoping, where are you? All of a sudden, Jiang Yaru's voice rang out from the cave. He sounded very anxious. Xiaoping's figure flashed, and he immediately returned from the flat ground. With a few leaps, he arrived in front of the cave and immediately saw Jiang Yaru and the others appear in the cave. What's wrong? What's the matter? Xiaoping looked at Jiang Yaru and the others. They were now dressed neatly, but their faces revealed a dignified expression, as if something big had happened. Jiang Yaru said in a low voice, "Just now, Shao Qin and the others went out to hunt beasts, wanting to prepare for today's breakfast. But along the way, they found this thing around the forest." She took out a piece of tree bark from her body, and there seemed to be some words written on it. Xiaoping stared at it, and it said, "Contact me at noon. Xiaoping, come to the central mountain range of Beast Island, where your classmates and alumni will be slaughtered one by one. For every minute you are late, one will be killed." These words revealed a dense, murderous intent, causing one's heart to palpitate. This tree bark is everywhere in the forest, almost all around Beast Island. Chu Rong guessed, maybe those bandits couldn't find your whereabouts, so they used this dirty method to force you out. All the girls were furious. These bandits were too despicable. They couldn't find their whereabouts, so they actually used such a dirty method. Did they think that they would commit the crime just like that? It was completely conceivable that once they appeared in the central mountain range of Beast Island, they would definitely be surrounded and attacked by those bandits. At that time, they would be hunted down by those bandits and die without a burial. Xiaoping, ignore those bandits' request. Roland said in a low voice, "In any case, the teachers will be back in 2 days with the spaceship. At that time, when the martial warriors arrive, these bandits will definitely die without a burial. Not a single one will be able to escape. Right now, they're even more anxious than us. However, there were also some girls who fell silent. If it didn't appear, the other students would definitely die. However, they weren't so noble as to throw away their life for the sake of other students." Xiaoping, on the other hand, had a strange expression on his face. These bandits were really stupid. They thought that using this kind of method would be able to force him out. If those bandits had caught someone he was familiar with, perhaps he would really be forced to go over. However, those people that were caught by those bandits all hated him to the bone. How could he go over and save them? Anyway, there was no benefit in saving them. He might as well let those bandits slaughter these students. However, his hands were a little itchy right now. He wanted to test his skills, and perhaps these bandits were the best targets. "You guys hide for now. I'll play with those bandits," Xiaoping said to Jiang Yaru and the others. Jiang Yaru was shocked. "Do you really want to go over alone? This is a trap. Don't be stupid. Once you go over, you'll definitely be surrounded and attacked by those bandits." "Yeah, you can't go over. People must know their limits," Chu Rong said in a low voice. "If you know that you're throwing away your life, you're not a hero, you're just an idiot." No. Xiaoping waved his hand. "I don't plan on falling into those bandits' trap. I'm just too lazy to wait for 2 days. I want to eliminate those bandits now. If those bandits continue to live, they'll be an eyesore. An eyesore? Jiang Yaru and the others looked at Xia Ping speechlessly. Then what do you want to do? Chu Rong asked curiously. Chapter 102. At the center of the Beast Island, on a mountaintop, hundreds of students were captured and tied up on the ground. All of them had bruises on their faces and looked miserable. They were all captured by the Cheetah Regiment. Yesterday, because Xia Ping had stolen the scarlet blood fruit, the Cheetah group had been enraged. They swore to find Xia Ping and tear him to pieces. However, they hadn't expected that Xia Ping would meet another student instead. In the end, those students were unlucky. They were all captured alive and couldn't escape. Those who wanted to resist were beaten up by these bandits. However, the Cheetah Regiment was not satisfied because they couldn't find the culprit, Xia Ping. Damn it! The leader of the Cheetah Regiment, Lin Bao, gritted his teeth. Where is that bastard hiding? Why can't we find him? He was so angry that he didn't sleep for the whole night just to find Xia Ping. However, the Beast Island was too big. It was 100,000 square kilometers and there were forests everywhere. If a person wanted to hide, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. That bastard is a coward. He dared to steal our things, but he doesn't dare to come out? If he has the guts, come out and fight with us for 300 rounds. Once we find that bastard, we will immediately tear him into pieces. No, let's torture him for half an hour first. Otherwise, I won't be able to vent my anger. The group of bandits raged. In order to find that bastard, they had crossed mountains and ravines for God knows how long. Now, all of them had panda eyes and were extremely sleepy. However, this didn't matter. Their hatred for Xia Ping was greater than anything else. They wouldn't rest until he was dead. Don't worry, we have placed a lot of information around the forest. As long as he sees it, he will know that we have captured many of his classmates and even alumni. Lin Bao clenched his fist. As long as that kid has a little conscience, he will definitely surrender and obediently come to the mountaintop to be killed by us. This was a vicious plan to use those students as hostages. To be honest, although this plan was old, it had always been successful. Sometimes, these bandits would use hostages to threaten the police and obtain a chance to escape. He believed that the kid was also a student and would definitely be soft-hearted and unwilling to see his classmates die. But it's almost noon now, and that brat has no intention of appearing at all. What should we do when the time comes? Some of the bandits were worried that the kid hadn't seen the message left in the jungle. If that was the case, then everything they had done would have been in vain. They would have been flirting with the blind. Lin Bao coldly snorted. We're in the underworld, so we have to keep our word. If we say we'll kill them after the time is up, then we'll kill them. Anyway, if that brat doesn't show up by noon, we'll slaughter these idiots. His body exuded a deep, murderous aura that made people tremble in fear. When the group of students heard this, their faces turned pale and they began to tremble uncontrollably. No, boss, that bastard has no conscience. He's a bad guy. There's no one worse than him in the world. That bastard won't come to save us. You're killing innocent people. When Han Shan of Zhangde Middle School heard Lin Bao's words, he was so scared that his eyes turned green, and he cried out in grievance. That's right. Wanting to use us to threaten that shameless Xia Ping is simply dreaming. Everyone here has enmity with him. We hate him to the bone. Why would he come to save us? That kid can't wait for us to die. When he hears that we've been caught, maybe he'll kick us while we're down. He might even open champagne to celebrate. Boss, you have to think twice. It's useless to catch us to threaten Xia Ping. It's really useless. The group of students shouted loudly, feeling extremely aggrieved. They had simply suffered an undeserved calamity. Because of that bastard Xia Ping, they were actually captured by this group of angry bandits. Especially the students of Wuwei Martial Arts Hall. All of them were scared to death. They knew that this bastard was a god of plagues, but they didn't expect to be affected by this shameless bastard after hiding for such a long distance. Who was more unlucky than them? Shut up. Lin Bao stared at these students. You're still lying here. You're all schoolmates. How can your relationship with him be bad? Do you want to bully me because I haven't studied for many years? A group of bandits looked at these students with a sneer, thinking that these people were lying. Did they think that they could survive by saying that they were Xia Ping's enemy? They weren't so easily fooled by the other party. Han Shan was extremely aggrieved. No one believed him when he said that he had a bad relationship with Xia Ping. He quickly said, "Boss, you have to believe us. All of us have a grudge against Xia Ping. This is true. You don't know that bastard is simply a disgusting guy. Everyone wants to kill him. We all want to beat him up. I hope he is unlucky." A group of students nodded in unison. They all agreed with this point very much. This was a rare, unanimous opinion. What about you? I heard that you are a student of 95th Middle School. You are all schoolmates of the same school. You must have a good relationship with him? Lin Bao stared at a group of students of 95th Middle School with a fierce look in his eyes. They were Xiong Batian, Tao Yun, Gao Sheng, Hong Yu, and others. These people were also very unlucky. They wanted to go out to hunt a few beasts, but they were inadvertently caught by the angry cheetah group on the spot and beaten violently. Now they were bruised and swollen. "No, I hate that brat to the bone," Xiong Batian said with grief and indignation. "That brat once beat me up in the arena and sent me to the hospital for a week. That bastard also gave me a nickname, Blockhead. From then on, no one called me Xiong Batian. They all called me Blockhead. I used to be the little overlord of the school. No one dared to provoke me. Since I was beaten up by him, no one is afraid of me. After all, who would be afraid of a blockhead?" He looked up to the sky and roared. "Me too. I was also beaten up. I went to the hospital for a week and spent more than 100,000 in medical expenses." Gao Sheng also looked aggrieved and quickly distanced himself from Xia Ping. "I'm the worst," Tao Yun cried. "At that time, I was humiliated by him in the arena. I was beaten black and blue. Finally, I left the arena crying. Later, I was named the crybaby by my classmates. Now I'm laughed at when I go out. They say I'm a woman. I hate him to the bone." His cry was mournful and showed his true feelings. According to the vicious eyes of the cruel criminals such as the Cheetah Group, they could see at once that these people were not acting. This Xia Ping, everyone has the right to punish him. I didn't expect that even people from the same school would be killed by him. Think about it. They are all from the same school. Naturally, there is a good chance of meeting him. That bastard is probably unhappy with bullying his classmates, and he has begun to bring disaster to the fish pond and harm people from other schools. Damn, that's why we were so miserable and beaten by him several times. Is no one to punish such a bully? Chapter 103. I didn't expect that there would be people in this world who are even more savage than us, the Cheetah Group. Hearing the words of these students, a bandit looked up to the sky and sighed. It seems that this Xia Ping is simply the public enemy. Sooner or later, he will become a wanted criminal. Who knows? He might even be more famous than us in the future and even more ferocious. He didn't know why, but when he heard these students' words, he felt a little sympathetic. The other bandits also couldn't help but nod their heads. This Xia Ping seemed to have a criminal record. No wonder he was so despicable. He even stole their scarlet blood fruit and killed their people. The leader of the Cheetah Regiment, Lin Bao, was a little dumbfounded. Why was this fellow so hateful? If this was really the case, then what was the use of him capturing these students to threaten the other party? Right at that moment, one of the bandits was shocked. That was because his communicator had rung. He immediately said, "Boss, my communicator is ringing. Someone wants to contact us." "What?" A cold glint flashed in Lin Bao's eyes. "Answer it immediately. It's probably that brat." The bandit nodded and immediately answered the call. As expected, Xia Ping's voice came through the communicator. "Hello, is this the Cheetah Squad? I'm Xia Ping. To tell you the truth, don't bully my classmates and friends. Otherwise, I'll fight you to the death. Do you understand?" Many of the bandits immediately perked up. Not only were they not angry, but they were all overjoyed. Since the other party cared about their schoolmates, then there was something to talk about. However, there were also some bandits who looked at these students ferociously because these guys had just said that they had a grudge with Xia Ping and that it was impossible for them to save them. However, what was going on now? Who was lying? Seeing his ferocious gaze, Han Shan and the others all paled. They hated Xia Ping to death. "Don't worry, As long as you obediently come to the central mountain range of Beast Island and hand over the 3 scarlet blood fruits, your classmates and schoolmates will naturally be fine. Otherwise, their fates will be very miserable. Lin Bao's tone was filled with coldness. Will I die? Xiaoping's voice seemed to be filled with fear, and his expression was stern. I'm warning you, it doesn't matter if you hurt other people, but you can't hurt Han Shan of Zhengde High School. That person has been my good friend for many years, a friend of mine through life and death. Back then, I fell in love with his girlfriend, but for the sake of our friendship, he resolutely broke up with her and helped us. That was our friendship. You can touch anyone but Han Shan, understand? He warned the members of the Cheetah Regiment, specifically pointing out that the person was from Zhengde High School and not the other high schools. Life and death friends? Giving his girlfriend? Hearing this, the group of bandits were shocked. Just a moment ago, this brat had said that he hated Xiaoping to the bone and simply wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible. What exactly was going on? Damn, your acting skills are really good. You even deceived us old hands. Young people nowadays are amazing. The new waves of the Yangtze River drive the old waves, and the old waves die on the beach. One of the bandits sighed, glaring at Han Shan viciously. His heart was filled with rage from being deceived. Han Shan was so angry that he almost died. If Xiaoping was standing in front of him, he would definitely fight that bastard to the death. How was this trying to save him? He was clearly trying to kill him. No, it's not like that. I'm not familiar with that bastard at all. We only met for the first time a few days ago. It's true. You have to believe me, believe me. Han Shan shouted himself hoarse with extreme grief and indignation. With a bang, a bandit stepped forward and smashed a fist over. Even Han Shan's front teeth were broken and blood splattered. He said angrily, "We're life and death friends. You're even willing to give your girlfriend to your brother. What kind of friendship is that? You, King, said that we only met a few days ago. You're really good at lying. I was almost fooled by you before." Xiaoping, I'm going to kill you." Han Shan roared at the sky. He was extremely resentful. If it wasn't for this bastard's big mouth, he wouldn't be in such a miserable state. Kill my guess. Still pretending. With a bang, another bandit punched Han Shan again, sending him flying. Both of his eyes were swollen, turning into panda eyes. Xiaoping's voice sounded again. There's also my childhood sweetheart Xiong. He's a good friend of mine for many years. We were the same pants. When I was a child, he often gave me his toys to play with. We're friends of 8 generations. You can't touch him either. All right, there's also Tao Yun. His sister is now my 3rd girlfriend. He's my brother-in-law. You can't touch him either. Otherwise, his beautiful sister will fight me to the death. Goldman Sachs and Han Yu are my good friends for 3 years. We studied hard and went out to prostitutes together. Our relationship is very close. He pointed out a few names in a row, saying that these people had a great relationship with him and that they couldn't touch them. Otherwise, the 3 scarlet blood fruits wouldn't have come. However, the more Xiaoping said, the more annoyed those bandits were. Their lungs almost exploded from anger. Their eyes were ferocious to the extreme as they stared at those students. The surroundings were filled with an oppressive atmosphere. Young people are amazing. Their acting skills are top-notch. Lin Bao, the boss of the Cheetah Group, said faintly, "Do you really think that we old coursemen don't study enough and drop out of high school like fools, and it's easy to be deceived by you with a few words? However, you're really amazing. All of you are qualified to go to first-class universities. You're so good at deceiving people before you graduate from high school. It's amazing. I personally admire your acting skills." The calmer his tone was, the more people around him could feel the anger in his heart. As a wanted criminal, a very famous wanted criminal, and also the boss of so many bandits, he was well informed and the crimes he had committed were hard to right. Such a bandit boss had actually been tricked by a few brat high school students, and had even been tricked into running around in circles as if they were fools. What kind of humiliation was this? Take them out and beat them for half an hour. Lin Bao said lightly. No, it's not like that. We really are enemies with that Xiaoping. That bastard is lying. He's lying. He's a bad person who's full of pus. He's guilty of all kinds of evil. Boss, you have to believe us. Don't believe the words of that bastard Xia Ping. Not even the punctuation marks. Shameless Xia Ping. If we really die, we won't let you go even if we become ghosts. A group of students wailed in pain and hated Xia Ping to the bone. However, no matter how they wailed and struggled, no bandit would believe anything they said. They thought it was all acting, so they dragged them out one by one and beat them up. After the beating was over, these students were unrecognizable. Even their parents wouldn't be able to recognize them. Can't his words be trusted? Lin Bao's eyes revealed a trace of coldness. Do I need you students to teach me this kind of thing? I've already done it. Boss. At this time, a bandit came up and said in a deep voice, "I've found it. The signal from the communication device is in a valley 3 kilometers away. That kid is hiding there. Let's go and kill him together." Chapter 104. In a valley. The elites of the cheetah regiment were all out. They were scattered in every corner and surrounded the valley. They surrounded it from all directions silently, not letting anyone discover them. "Is it here?" Lin Bao stared at the valley. A bandit nodded. "Yes, it's here. The signal came from here. That kid hasn't left yet. He doesn't know that his communication device's signal has been leaked. He probably thinks he can bargain with us." He revealed a cold smile. As expected of a student without any experience in society, try to negotiate with bandits like them was like dancing with poisonous snakes. In fact, they had no intention of negotiating with this kid. They just wanted to find his location and shoot him dead. Just based on the fact that he had killed so many members of the cheetah regiment, there was no way he could survive. Charge over and kill that kid. Under Lin Bao's command, the elites charged into the valley, captured the brat, and dismembered his corpse. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The elites of the cheetah regiment held guns in their hands as they quickly advanced. They moved in all directions at an extremely fast speed, each of them like a cheetah. However, when they entered the valley, they were all stunned. "There's no one." One of the bandits was dumbfounded. He realized that there was no one in the valley. That kid, Xia Ping, seemed to have disappeared from this place. One of the bandits was puzzled. "What's going on? Didn't you say that the signal came from this valley?" "Look, there's something on the ground." A sharp-eyed bandit immediately noticed that there seemed to be something on the ground. A group of people immediately surrounded it. Suddenly, 2 communication devices appeared on the yellow soil. They were tied together by branches. One was obviously responsible for contacting the cheetah regiment, while the other was equivalent to a relay device. It was responsible for transmitting sound. In other words, the other party had at least 3 communication devices. That bastard was using the 3rd device to transmit sound. This made them mistakenly think that the kid was in the valley. "Damn it, we've been played." One of the bandits had an extremely ugly expression. He felt a sense of humiliation. They had mobilized so many people to come here, but there was no one there. Lin Bao could not help but clench his fists tightly as his eyes burned with anger. He had thought that he would be able to find that brat's whereabouts, but he did not expect that he would only be able to find a communication device. "Boss, look, there seems to be something left over there." One of the thugs also noticed that there seemed to be a piece of tree bark next to the communicator. There were some words written on it. Lin Bao reached out and took it. On it was written, "The cheetah troop is buried here. Damn it, we've been tricked. Run." Seeing these words, he immediately thought of something. His expression changed drastically, and he desperately shouted for the surrounding bandits to run away. But it was too late. Rumble, at this moment, the bombs buried in the valley suddenly exploded. Hundreds of tons of explosives exploded at the same time, creating an earth-shattering explosion that shook the valley. The area within a radius of several hundred meters was razed to the ground. The heavens shook and the earth quaked. The nearby bandits were caught off guard and were instantly killed by the explosion. Their bodies were torn apart and they died without a burial. The entire valley was surrounded by thick black smoke, and the mountain rocks were shattered, creating a large crater. A black mushroom cloud appeared in the sky, causing the surrounding several kilometers to feel the intense tremors. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, Xia Ping, Jiang Yaru, Chu Rong, and the others appeared on top of Small Mountain, looking at the power of the explosion in the valley. "Amazing!" Chu Rong couldn't help but exclaim. She looked at Xia Ping in disbelief. Just how did you come up with this move? You actually set up such a trap and sent these bandits to heaven in an instant. The girls also couldn't help but look at Xia Ping in admiration. Originally, it was simply too difficult to completely wipe out these bandits. They had heavy weapons and many experts on them. If they got close, the only path left for them would be death. But Xia Ping had done the exact opposite. He had purposely set up a trap in the valley, planting a large number of explosives in advance. His goal was to lure these bandits into the valley. Who would have thought that this plan would actually succeed? Those bandits had been too smart for their own good. They had originally thought that this was a great opportunity to capture Xia Ping, but who would have thought that it would be a trap that would cost them their lives? It really is amazing. Jiang Yaru also couldn't help but admit that this plan was very clever. Even she hadn't thought of such a method. He had completely schemed against those bandits. Not a single step was wrong. And he had even used the equipment they had obtained from the bandits, such as explosives, communication devices, and so on, as a simple trap. This was even more amazing. It's nothing. Aren't all cop shows like this? Xia Ping rubbed his chin, admiring the fireworks. He also didn't expect things to go so smoothly. When carrying out this plan, he had only wanted to give it a try. It didn't matter if it succeeded or not, but reality proved that those bandits had indeed fallen for it. Cop show. Jiang Yaru and the others all shook their heads, indicating that they didn't understand what Xia Ping was talking about. However, this didn't stop them from admiring Xia Ping. Not only was he strong, but he was also a cut above the rest in terms of intelligence. It was just that he was a bit annoying, shamelessly lecherous, and his mouth was also very poisonous. These bandits are all dead. Teacher will probably be here soon, one of the girls sighed. She felt that the sky was finally clear after the storm, and she could finally leave this place full of nightmares. No, that's not right. The jammer hasn't been destroyed. Our signal can't come out. Chu Rong's expression changed. She could feel that her watch's signal still couldn't come out. What? All the girls were taken aback. Could it be that such a violent bomb was unable to destroy the jammer? Or could it be that the jammer wasn't even on these bandits, but was hidden somewhere? Xia Ping. All of a sudden, an earth-shattering roar came from the distance. It was like the roar of an injured beast in despair. The rage was at its peak, and the entire atmosphere was filled with an extremely oppressive aura. Whoosh! A charred figure shot out from the valley like a cannonball, directly charging towards the mountain peak. His speed was extremely fast, and he tore through the air. And this person was the leader of the cheetah squad, Lin Bao. He was still alive. Lin Bao was unable to restrain his anger. Large amounts of blood flowed out of his body, and his head stood up straight, emitting a burning smell. However, his body was also emitting an extremely dangerous aura. Jiang Yaru and the others' pupils shrank. They felt that this person was extremely terrifying. Even though he was injured, he still seemed to have the power to kill them all.